Alright, welcome to the latest, noodliest episode of the WheelCast, the high variance podcast where many things go. I am your host, Greg Orange, magic aficionado and wheel enthusiast. I'm here with some guests.
Alright, I'm Daniel Weiser, four-time guest on the WheelCast, and I'm ready to spin some wheels.
I'm Luke Swenson. This is my second time on the WheelCast, and hopefully we can just spin some wheels.
I'm Jason Scosmo, also second time in the WheelCast. Looking forward to it.
And I'm Alex Johnson, also known as Salty J, and this is my first experience.
Let's give a round of applause to Alex first. Oh.
Alright, well, let's get into it. Well, time to spin the wheel. Ooh, a 7. That'll be 25th anniversary celebration.
Oh, who won that? Who won this latest Pro Tour, Greg? Do you know who it was?
Oh, I feel like that's neither here nor there. It's probably around here somewhere, but I feel like there's a lot to celebrate in the 25th anniversary of Magic. I did pretty well in the event, I would say.
I cashed as well.
Ooh, that's nice.
Daniel Weiser, how'd you do in the tournament? What was that final record?
8 and 6, and cash.
And cash.
Nice.
For a full 1,000.
What was your final record, Greg?
You know, about yay noodle.
About yay many wins.
Did you end in about yay place?
Yeah,
Did you ever lose any
yays.
matches? No, you did. I saw you lose a match on camera.
Yeah, I lost a few. And as a team, we lost two.
You lost two.
Yeah.
Bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, just a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, they were definitely like a lock for a long time to win it all. AKA round 1.
So afterwards, we all got together and went out for food and beverages, I suppose.
Adult beverages.
Chocolate milk for everyone.
Took a few. Watched Greg and Ben Hull take a few shots off of their trophies.
The trophy shots are nice.
Yeah. What's the point of getting a trophy if you're gonna take a shot off it for real?
You've seen the shape of the trophy. You had to do some geometry to figure
it
out
was
exactly how it would work.
It was an endeavor for sure.
But yeah, nothing worth doing is worth overdoing or something. I don't know, some noodly phrase.
Some noodly phrase.
I mean, yeah. And Ben Hull definitely got to celebrate by talking about what's the draft format you guys talked about?
Vintage Masters.
No,
yeah, I bonded with Ben Hull over Vintage Masters, which is an extremely underrated format, and he appreciates it as much as I.
You're talking about the one with the more contraptions or whatever they're called.
Oh, that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you guys talk about Unstable Draft for at least 20 minutes straight, and that's immediately after he won the PT. We it's why?
Ben Hull's a draft aficionado.
Why are we talking?
I'm kind of a fan.
And he's just ranting about the rise from the grave constant. And I was like, what are we doing? Or what are those called? Contraptions. And it's you just want a PT. We're talking about different contraptions from Unstable.
Apparently the strategy is to draft just a few noodly contraptions, so you always get those ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That does seem like the way to do it.
That makes sense.
So, Greg, are you particularly happy that you won? The PT you won was the anniversary celebration thing, or is that just kind of meaningless?
And also the hometown.
I mean, the hometown I think is a much bigger deal.
Yeah, the hometown's really cool.
The hometown was a huge deal. I mean, just everyone came down to watch. It was really cool.
Yeah, we're coming in at the end of the podcast, or not the end of the podcast, hopefully, but the end of the.
No, you never know.
We'll see.
Time to spin the wheel again. Oh wait, before we spin the wheel again, so what was that?
7.
Number 7. If we roll 7 again, we'll be talking about the non-gambler's fallacy.
Oh, you gotta pass it.
Oh, you pass the dice. All right.
Yeah.
Who's
So
gonna
time
roll
to spin the wheel.
And we're spinning.
Ooh,
That was
2.
close.
Close call.
All right, number 2 is PT 25th anniversary.
Well, who knows anything about that?
Last time we were talking about the celebration.
Greg, why don't you talk about what deck you played at the PT
Well, I
anniversary?
played a sweet, dirtily blue-white Teferi standard deck, which seemed to be fairly well positioned in that event, or at least for me it was.
The commentators seemed to love the Kefnet. They didn't understand.
Oh, the Dirtlebird is the word.
The Dirtlebird is the word.
I think my favorite part of the cast was when Paul Cheon was talking about all the cards in your hand. You had like a Teferi going and like whatever that land is, the Arch of Araska. And he makes some comment like, wow, he's drawing like 3 cards a turn. And then everyone else on coverage is like, don't be jealous. Don't be jealous, Cheon.
Yeah, how jealous do you think Cheon was?
He was extremely jealous, and it was very obvious.
He was like very relevant in his voice the whole time, just like, look at how many Teferis are in this deck, just look at them.
There was definitely a point in the finals where I just like stopped drawing cards because I'm like, I've drawn enough.
I didn't notice that point, and I was like, oh, I see Greg didn't activate Arch of Araska here. I think he's got this one.
Yeah, that's always the good
Would you say that was better or worse than the Elspeth moment at that other Pro Tour? Remember that?
Which Elspeth?
The one where you didn't activate your Elspeth and your opponent called you out on it?
Yeah,
That wasn't a Pro Tour.
That's not GP, the one where he's like at GP Chicago, where someone's like, he was like, it's like, you didn't ask your, What? Greg, tell us, sorry.
Tell us the story, Greg.
Either, but
It's a little off topic, but it's a good story.
Just a PTQ where I passed the turn and my opponent was like, why didn't you activate your Elspeth that turn? And I was just like, why are you still playing this game? And he was like, fair, and he scooped him up.
So, yeah, what else did your team play at the PT?
I played Hollow One and also D&T in Legacy, the mono white creatures.
I remember exactly what I said about that D&T deck before you went to the tournament. I said, quote unquote, that deck's unplayable. Why are you letting him play it?
Why would you say that? You're
the deck
wrong.
was clearly good.
I mean, it's definitely good.
Like, D&T has been a good deck forever.
That's not true. It was not good. It was not good from the time after Top was banned, before Death Ray Shaman was banned.
Sure, but
there
it's
were
been
a lot of 4-color decks with a bunch of K commands.
What I mean is that the base power level has been high enough for it to be a good deck, whereas I think a strong argument can be made that up until a few years ago, that was not true for any deck that didn't brainstorm.
Well, we're coming to the 3-minute mark on this topic, so
And I was clearly wrong.
if we roll a 2 again, we will be spinning Go Get Taco Bell. So time to spin the wheel.
7 again.
Oh, non-gambler's fallacy.
Tell us about the non-gambler's
explain this one,
fallacy.
Greg?
All right, so the regular gambler's fallacy is that past rolls will affect future
past
rolls.
events affect future events. So it's
Even if they're not linked.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's basically the fallacy whereby people will say, well, I've been on a streak, so it'll continue, or I've been unlucky the last few times, so I'm going to be lucky this time. It's basically
The
a
last
failure
two
to
times
recognize
were
that
heads.
each
It's
random
gotta
event
be
is
tails
unconnected
this
to the other.
time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or
So in that vein, the non-gambler's fallacy is when you decide not to gamble, which is generally the correct play, but for the incorrect reason. Like you decide to not gamble just because I'm unlucky, or I've been unlucky lately, or something.
I just won big, so all my luck's been used up.
My luck's running very low currently.
I definitely think I've fallen to that same fallacy before. It's like, oh, I just won big, I better get out of here because I used up all my luck.
Well, the thing is, like, it's usually just the right thing to do. I mean, almost always, but it's funny when, like, the reason is bad.
I love that it leads to the right decision for absolutely the wrong reason.
That is nice. The non-gambler's fallacy is nice.
How often do you think the non-gambler's fallacy takes place, just like in the general populace?
It's
gonna say-
very hard to quantify.
it's probably more often than you think.
Yeah, I think a
think.
lot of... Yeah, sorry.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it happens a lot.
I think a lot of people that would fall victim to the gambler's fallacy, like... They would fall victim to the gambler's fallacy, and they gamble a little bit, and they lose, and they decide, oh, I must just be unlucky, and they quit. And so then they fall victim to the non-gambler's fallacy.
I mean, I think that happens even in like cases where, like, for example, someone's like, oh, I don't speed very often, but I haven't got a speeding ticket, and so I got to make sure that I'm being safe and not speeding. So they're not speeding, which is the right thing to do. But the reason they're maybe not speeding is like, I don't want to, like, there's just a lot. I think there's ways that it applies in regular society.
I suppose you can slap it on to speeding if you want.
I feel like you just shouldn't...
The non-speeders fallacy.
The non-speeders fallacy.
Yeah.
I haven't been speeding enough lately, so I need to make up for lost time.
No, I think the way it works is I just got pulled over yesterday. Can't possibly get pulled over today.
That sounds more.
Hit the fucking gas!
No, that's just the speeder's fallacy.
That sounds like a gambler's fallacy more than.
Yeah, that's just the regular speeder's fallacy, I suppose. Alright, so it looks like we're coming around the 3-minute mark. So what number was that? Number 7?
Number 7.
Seven's been hot. We're like, we better go to the casino.
Seven's been hot. We're gonna hit it again.
Yeah, put a bad topic in this time. We're not going to hit 7 again.
No, we're gonna hit it again. We're on a streak.
Or that too. I mean,
Move TB up into the 7th slot.
Who can say?
So the next number 7 topic is just knives in shoes.
It's a nice topic.
Alright,
Oh,
so
man, I'm
time
ready.
to spin the wheel.
Can I just say that we've been interrupting each other a lot.
Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, you could interrupt each other about yay much, I assume.
I would say we could cut it out for this, to make the cast a little nicer. But all right,
Yeah.
spin the wheel. The 3.
Ooh, 3. A lot of low rolls. That'd be MTG Arena.
MTG Arena.
MTG Arena. How do you feel?
I've played this exactly once, and I know that it is not really marketed to people like me. But if it attracts people to the game, I think it's a good thing. I really hope that it doesn't result in them compromising the things I like about the original Magic Online.
Yeah, I haven't played it much. I downloaded and played like one game, and it seemed fine, but I didn't really get into it. And I did watch it played a little bit, and the interface looked pretty nice.
Yeah, the interface was nice.
The interface is a huge improvement.
I definitely.
It's clearly a plus.
I think that they still need to do some things with it. Like when I was playing it, I tried to watch I was playing and I was like, what phase am I in? And it's like click attackers. Would you like to move attackers? Then I had to click 3 times from my main phase, and I was just like, I don't even know what phase I'm in. It's not really telling me what phase I'm in. It's something not being very descriptive about the phases, so that was kind of challenging. But I thought the interface was nice.
I've never played it, so is there shortcuts in Magic Online where you
No.
can just advance to the next phase with
No.
one keystroke?
No, it's kind of the opposite of that. So the way
have
it
to be
works is it's designed to be as intuitive as possible. So basically, if you want more control, you have to deliberately exercise that control. So you have to press certain things to sort of retain priority. I don't know all the details, but that's the design philosophy behind it.
Okay.
So a new player who doesn't know anything about the nitty gritty of the rule will just be able to play normal. But if you do know the sort of more complicated interactions, you still have full control.
Yeah. So on that topic, I haven't played any Magic Arena myself, but I watched a streamer playing it for a little bit once, and one of the first things I saw was, this streamer's playing, they go to cast this spell, and they're gonna play 2 sweet spells this turn, and they're gonna win because of it probably, and they cast this first spell, and then the game immediately taps all their dual lands and leaves them without the correct mana to cast their second spell.
That is something you can control.
Right, but it's just the fact that it's programmed to tap your dual lands before your basics, or however it got to the point of tapping all your dual lands and mana screwing yourself, that's clearly just an error in the client that made me not want to play the game.
Yeah, I can see that.
Alright, so we're running up to the 3-minute mark. So if we roll a 3 again, we'll be talking about steamed hands. Time to spin the wheel. Ooh, 13. Ooh, that'd be our PT side draft.
I was not present for this legendary event.
Oh my god.
So
Nice!
So basically, after the top 4 of the Team Pro Tour,
You mean after the quarterfinals?
Yeah, after the
The
quarterfinals.
Semifinals.
There's only 4, so
It's top 4 finals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Top to
So
top,
yeah, but after your
So after my match, my friends were like, "Hey, got some time because I have to play the other match right now. Do you want to just do a draft? They're doing free drafts." And I was like, "Oh, can't pass up on the value. Might as well."
If you want to hear more about it, Alan Wu wrote an awesome article where he talks about where is my teammate? Oh, he must be off side drafting. That makes sense.
Yeah, the Alan Wu article is gas though. It was actually quite nice.
Yeah, I read that one. It was pretty noodly.
Yeah, that was a great article.
Dirtbird is the word.
It was also funny when we were going up to there was like a counter where you'd show up and you'd sign up and they'd be like, all right, you'd give the names of 8 people, and so the woman that was running things was like taking down our names, and it comes in as like Greg O. She's like, Greg O, is he in this? And then Greg just peeks his head out behind someone else and goes, yeah, why not?
It's so funny.
I probably lost the first round of that side draft.
Yeah,
very unlucky.
I did say, well, like, before we played, you might win the PT, but I'm going to crush you in this draft. So I'd like to think I got it where it counts.
Well,
No, you do.
I definitely saw your deck laid out, and I saw my deck laid out. I'm like, my deck's never beating this deck. But when I saw my opponent's deck laid out at the top, in the files of the PT, I was like, my deck has a fire chance in this matchup. So that was nice.
Yeah, he left his timely reinforcements at home. Or heroic reinforcements, whichever one.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alan's article, he mentioned how he relaxed before the finals. Well, Greg relaxed with the draft.
Yeah, it's definitely Noodly.
Yeah, it was very noodly. So wait, how much? We've been
I think we got 60.
For like, 2:30 maybe. So
Oh, no.
We can call it earlier. Oh,
I'll say one thing.
There was a Nicol Bolas foil Nicol Bolas open.
Oh, yeah, I remember Jackson bragging about that.
Yeah, did he win with the double foil? Or he had one foil, not one non-foil Nicol Bolas deck. Did he win the draft?
Yeah,
with
he
that
beat
time?
me in the finals. He beat my double heroic reinforcements deck with his double Nicol Bolas deck.
Double
Nicholas
heroic
does seem
reinforcements,
pretty
that's
noodly.
fucked up, bro.
My deck was very insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say Daniel's deck sounds really good too.
I had a game where on turn 1 I played the 1/1 cat for 1 that like gets +1/+1 and you gain life in combat if you have 4 more guys.
Yep.
And then turn 2 I played the dragon fodder.
Yep.
And then turn 3 I played Boggart Brute. And then turn 4
heroic
I played
reinforcements.
Goblin Trash Master. And killed an artifact with one of the tokens.
Nice.
So if we roll
Alright,
if we roll a 13 again, we'll be talking about the Star Wars ranking.
That's a nice one.
Time to spin the wheel. Ooh, a 5. Ooh, winning it all.
Winning what?
Ooh, well, you never know. So I feel like Salty J's won events at the past.
I've won exactly I've won one very large event, and it did involve choosing the right deck, aka 75ing Andrew Tenjum's list from the weekend before. But
what you did?
It did. And I
played.
sometimes cast my spells right, sometimes I cast my spells wrong, but apparently Gideon of Zendikar is a forgiving magic card. And, you know, why would you lose any games in the top 8 when you're playing on the draw in bad matchups? Every one of my opponents told me that they had a good matchup against me, and I sure did draw a lot of Sylvan Advocates and Jerboke's Command and put their humans into their bins. Yeah. So, it was nice, though. It also won a trip to PT Sydney. Pretty soon they'll let Daniel go out of the country one of these times.
No, they won't. All the PTs is next year in the U.S.
Okay, well then...
Apparently not all of them. Like, the next couple are in the U.S.
Alright, well then Danny Boy's getting it in his butt, apparently.
The US PTs are a pretty big blowout, for sure.
I have played only U.S. PTs, and I'm going to play more U.S. PTs.
The U.S.
Are any of them in Hawaii?
No.
Get wrecked!
I mean, the
3-8.
the Hawaii's
They
definitely...
just announced that
Get wrecked!
the next one after Atlanta is Cleveland.
Yeah. You ready to drive to Cleveland, Greg?
Cleveland?
I probably.
That's
am.
like a...
Why would they
That's
ever
like
do
gonna
that?
I don't know.
That does seem like the Nudlow.
Yeah, it seems really bad.
I think my favorite memory from going to Cleveland was after a GP. We were just at a random restaurant, and the waitress came up to us and asked for our IDs because we were ordering Noodly beverages, and she goes, "Oh, what?" She doesn't ask like, "Why are you in town?" She asks, "What are you doing in Cleveland?"
The chicken and waffles are good, though.
And realistically, there's no good answer to the question because you know that it just doesn't make sense that you're there. My favorite memory of Cleveland is just the song in the video, and then the redux of the song in the video.
Yeah, what is that? The Cleveland tourism video?
Yeah, it's like like in Cleveland Town or whatever.
Yeah.
My favorite
It's
Cleveland
nice.
is from Family Guy.
Ooh.
Can't get behind Family Guy, man.
Oh, well. On the topic of PTs being in the U.S., I do think that it seems like a lot of people enjoyed PT Minneapolis.
No, PT Minneapolis.
I certainly enjoyed PT.
Did you?
I mean, we're biased because we live here.
I mean, one thing we should cover when we say winning it all, it was really hilarious when everyone from Minneapolis was there to support Greg. Yep. It was very loud, and all the Channel Fireball people were like, "Go team!" And then when Greg would win, the decibels were
boisterous.
It was not appropriate. They were not inside voices.
And then a certain one of our friends, who shall remain unnamed, started screaming obscenities at the top of his lungs and interrupting the casters when they would say something. He would be like, "Fuck you, Greg Orange won the PT!" And that's how it went down.
If you go back and watch coverage, every time any of their teammates won a game, you would immediately hear cheering from the sidelines.
Yeah. Well, alright, so that's enough at the 3-minute mark. So if we roll a 13 again, we'll be talking about the Star Wars ranking. Correct?
No, you already did that one.
No. What number was that?
Winning it all, number 5 is got
number 5. So we'll be talking about open face sleeves. If we roll a 5 again.
I hope we get that.
Don't you just won't get to talk.
I guess I'll learn.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I might learn.
You like that.
50-50 shot at this point.
50-50 shot.
15. Got any trades?
Oh, got any trades? Ooh, that's a good one.
You want to take this one?
No, I'll let someone else talk about it. Everyone else has had some experience.
Greg, can you tell us what your plan was if you ever played Owen Turtenwald at a PT and beat him?
Several years ago I had this discussion where I was like, if I ever play like a high-profile pro player and beat them, it'd be really funny if afterwards you're just like, hey, got any trades?
And the funniest thing about this is I remember talking with Greg about this, and at the time, no one had any idea who he was. And he was just, it would have just been the funniest thing in the world for him to just go to some complete pro, just act like he's a giant noob, he's never been on the pro tour before or whatever, oh, you want to trade?
Got any trades?
So I got at least 60 seconds I can talk about got any trades. So I know some of our viewers have probably been to a pre-release in their lifetime and had someone walk up with either their little, flip dragon shield box with a little stack of cards, or their binder, that's yeah, do you want to trade? And you're like, oh, sure, whatever. And you open the first page, and it's got some Ajani Goldmains, and they're acting all tough about their Ajani Goldmains on their front page. And you're like, are any of these Ajani Goldmains for trades? They're like, unless they're only Planeswalkers for Planeswalkers. And you're just like, oh, God. What have I done? And then you flip to the next page, and it's trash. And you flip to the next page, it's trash. And you flip to the next page, and you're like, okay, this says there's a Drowned Catacomb, so let's back out trade for that one. No, that's not for trade. If I get 3 more, I can build blue-black control in standard. And you're like, take this back. I made a mistake. I don't want to talk to you again. I'm not playing Guess Who. I don't care if they have facial hair. Take this back. I don't want to guess which cards are tradable in your binder. So
yeah, 1 strike and you're out with not for trade.
Two strikes. I'll give you 2. If you say one's not for trade, if the second time you say something's not for trade, it's like, get another binder. They're probably $4.
Yeah. So
the whole I have some cards in my trade binder that are just part of my collection thing is just very counterproductive.
How else are you going to show them off?
You're just wasting everyone's time. It's just false advertising. Why? Why are you doing this to me?
Have you tried suing them for false advertising? That'll teach you.
I did once actually, and it didn't. I lost the suit.
Ooh, I forgot of another nice one.
Did it even make it to court? Did they agree to hear anything?
No, definitely not.
Does anyone like the, can I pull these out? And they're like, do you mind if I pull your cards out of your binder, the ones that I'm interested in? And you're like, okay. And then they pull out 60 cards from your binder, and you look through their binder, and they're like, got random draft uncommons in your binder, and you're like, no, I don't really see anything. They're like, okay. And then they take their binder back and walk away, and you have a mountain of cards. So they got the job, and you're like, I hate this human being.
Trading is the literal worst. I mean, I am so glad that no one trades anymore.
I was going to say, I don't remember the last time that somebody approached me and asked me for a trade.
I feel like trading is a bit out of fashion these days.
You know what I like to trade?
I don't know.
I like to trade with a store, and I trade my cards for their dollars, or vice versa. That's a very nice trade.
Well, looks like
Usually it's not a very nice trade.
It's actually kind of
Correct.
Better than the alternative.
Better than the alternative.
Alright, so it looks like we're past the 3-minute mark, so if we roll a 15 again, we'll be talking about chode names.
That's a classic. 18.
Buying orange.
Ooh, this one's been on there for a while.
Yeah, it has. So in my opinion, or in my experience, I guess, most things tend to be orange. I don't know if that's what your experience is when purchasing things.
I think that somebody other than Greg should explain what this topic is. I would be happy to if no one else wants to.
Go for it.
Okay, so here's the thing. Greg Orange, whose name is Orange, you might not know this, but he buys a bunch of orange things. He literally goes out of his way to buy, like, he buys a shirt, it's orange. He buys pants, it's orange. He buys a backpack, it's orange. The commitment that this man has to his last name is mind-boggling.
So, for the record, the microphone we're currently using is orange.
Oh, yeah.
Greg's shorts are orange.
Indeed.
Greg's socks are orange.
Indeed.
Greg's shoes that he wore here are orange. Greg's phone is orange.
Phone's orange.
Greg's backpack is orange. All those things are just in this room that Greg owns and happen to be orange.
One time I asked Greg, I was like, hey Greg, why do you like always buy all those orange things? It's just like, when did you like come up with this? And his only response to me was, well, I was kind of born into it.
That's kind of pretty noodly.
Yeah, I don't know. Orange things are just noodlier than regular things. I mean, look around this room. Like, most of the things in this room just tend to be orange anyway.
That's because you have a lot of shit here.
That's because you're here. What are you talking about?
Although I was going to say, I'm wearing an orange shirt.
I was gonna say, Salty J's shirt is orange, but that's like the only other orange thing in the room other than things that are owned by Greg.
Yeah.
And little towel, that like dish towel.
Just all these orange behind you.
That towel's orange.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this room is just running low or running cold.
I think it's running above average on orange compared to like most places.
Compared to the rest of Alex's apartment, it's definitely above average in the orange because it's got a lot of Greg's things in here.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah,
I do agree that it's probably above average.
Also, this orange microphone was definitely like $5 more than the non-orange equivalent.
That's the level of commitment.
I mean, you gotta respect the brand.
I was
right?
gonna say sometimes you pay for value.
What's the price point where you would refuse?
That was definitely pushed.
Donald Trump.
Okay.
He's too orange.
It definitely gives the orange a bad name. I've seen a lot of random insults. They're just like, man, the orange man is the worst and whatnot. I'm like, what did I do?
It's like that scene in Office Space where someone's like, where it's like the Michael Bolton character, and he's like, it's like, why don't you just change your name? And he's like, why should I? He's the one who sucks.
Indeed. So it looks like we're crossing the 3-minute mark on this topic. So if we roll an 18 again, we will be talking about Jurassic Bark.
Ooh.
Classic. Alright, time to spin the wheel.
Well played, Luke.
The hummus roll.
That's a 7, I guess.
Roll that die right into the
So we
hummus.
split it into like the hummus. You want us like,
I
like
think it
that
counts.
one?
That was a 7.
That was a 7. It was clearly a 7.
Clearly a
Except for 7, I'll do 7 again.
Alright.
Lucky number 7, we rolled it a couple
Lucky
times.
number
Knives
seven
and
is pretty nice.
shoes.
Yeah, so knives and shoes.
I don't even know this topic's about, so you better start
I
us
feel
off
like this
second.
topic is very self-explanatory. It's just shoes that have knives in them.
Have you ever watched a movie?
Oh, where they like
We'll
kick
see,
their
like, an
shoe out and it has
action
like a
movie.
boot new knife?
Yeah, it's just a very common theme. But my question is, where can I buy these shoes? Because I'd love to have some knives in my shoes, but I've never found a pair in the store that has knives in them.
You gotta make them yourselves.
Yeah, I
it's
feel like they're
DIY.
always homemade. Like, have
Yeah.
you seen Wild Wild West?
Yeah. Can you imagine like going through airport security and they like pull you over and they're like, this guy's got knives in his shoes. And it's like, what do you mean he's got knives in his shoes? It's like,
You guys know
no.
that this is literally how the 9/11 hijackers got the plane, right?
I did not know that.
You fucking serious?
I was in 7th grade, bro.
What? Okay, well, I'm clearly the oldest person here. They
I was
literally,
in
they had
first grade.
razors.
Yeah, no.
They had
I was in
razor
first grade
blades
when I
in
know
their
this.
shoes. That's one of the things that's so fucked up about all the laws that got passed afterwards about airport security, because none of the new laws for airport security would have actually caught them. With the, like the only thing that would have caught them was like the taking your shoes out or whatever.
Yeah.
taking your shoes off or
I
whatever.
hadn't heard that. I was more thinking about when Will Smith like kicks his shoe down, a little knife pokes out, and then he like fights the guy with the steel head.
Okay.
That's nice.
Are you talking about
It is
from
nice.
what, Suicide Squad or whatever? Or what is
Isn't
it?
it Wild
Isn't it
Wild
Sneaks
West?
and-
Oh, Wild Wild West. That's a good movie.
So
No, it's not. Let's be real.
I mean, Greg is a fan of the schlock, so if Greg doesn't like it, that's a bad
I
sign.
mean, it's reasonably reasonable, I suppose. It's about yay noodly.
we're only talking about the shoes that had the knives built into them, not like an ankle holster or whatever for a knife.
No,
Those are allowed also, I'd say.
I mean, I guess I had in mind the knife that like kind of shoots out the front.
Oh, the toes, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But I guess any shoe knife would work.
Well, because
You can't be too specific when talking about knives and shoes.
Yeah, it's a fairly broad topic.
yeah, because I feel like if it's in the heel of the shoe, you'd be in danger of like stabbing yourself.
well, I mean, that's
I feel like if you're the kind of person who puts a knife in your shoe, that's like your last concern.
But I do feel like one important point for the knives and shoes, it has to be like spring activated or something, because it has to shoot out when you like stomp on it or something.
When you click the heel.
It's like some James Bond level, like fucking hidden gadget shit.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like that's about enough knives and shoes talk. So if we roll 7 again, we'll be talking about Yay Far.
Yeah, put it in.
Time to spin the wheel.
Time to spin the wheel.
Number 4.
Ooh, the Hall of Fame ballot.
Okay.
Hall of Fame ballot.
So right now it's the Hall of Fame voting season, I suppose.
Do we actually know everybody who's on the Hall of Fame ballot?
We know
yeah,
the
there's a
main
list.
ones or whatever.
Okay, so who are like the main people on it?
Seth Manfield.
Yeah, well, I knew that one.
He has been on the ballot for a couple years, I believe, but he hasn't gotten in.
Has he? He got his 4th PT top 8 recently, right?
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
which is
Dumb.
why I think now he's a favorite.
Number
to get
4
in
is
because-
usually the threshold.
right.
you gotta
Number 4,
cross.
and it was a win too.
Yeah.
I think he's
He also just had a great season. Like,
Yeah.
there's a good chance he'll be Player of the Year. So, like, an extra PT top 8 with it being a win and Player of the Year probably puts him into being a favorite.
Didn't he have like
again.
2 years in a row where he was like had like 100 pro points or something like that, where it was like an insane number?
Definitely had a lot.
Definitely not 100.
There was a time
a
where he
lot.
had like 30 or 40 more pro points than like the next person or something.
He's been platinum for a while, and then he also has the World Championship win. I don't know how much that factors in. It's a small tournament, but
Yeah. He's currently got 4 Pro Tour top 8s, one of them being a win, a World's win, a Player of the Year title, right? And I think now likely a second Player of the Year title unless someone upsets him the last couple weeks.
It's
So,
like,
who
so it's like
else
Li
is
Shixian
there?
is up there, is on the ballot, right?
Yep, Li Shixian has 5 PT
Five.
top 8s, which is usually considered a lock, but then there are some potential questions that people have been raising about him
there are,
that I don't know much about
there
myself.
are allegations.
So I won't weigh in.
how much do GP top 8s matter to you guys?
Almost not at all is the general consensus. If you have like 3 or 4 PT top 8s and your number of GP top 8s is like absurd, like you're talking like a Martin Yuza or something like that, then it starts to get factored in. But for most people, they generally the GP top 8s are not considered very important because you're not playing against other pros, you're playing against just random people.
So for Brad Nelson only has 3 Pro Tour top 8s, but he has 18 Grand Prix top 8s.
I don't think 18 necessarily means that much to most people who are on the ballot, or who can vote, but I'm not one of those people, so...
Yeah, I think of GP top 8s as like a tiebreaker almost. Whereas
Yeah, yep.
like if one person has 3 PT top 8s and like 8 GP top 8s, they're probably not, they're in a tough spot. Whereas if someone has 3 PT top 8s and 30 GP top 8s, that might be enough to like push them in.
Yep, and that's what I brought up, Yuza or possibly somebody like Nakamura, where it's like, Nakamura and Yuza are like 2 of the like just leaders in PT top or GP top 8s just lifetime. They just have like absurd numbers. But I think most people just like don't qualify for it.
Well, I'm gonna need to be able to figure this out because I'm gonna be voting for the first time this year, I suppose. So,
Congratulations.
I guess, yeah, it's usually. But anyway,
How many people? What are we doing?
I don't know. This is about the 3-minute mark on this topic. So if we roll, what number was that again?
That was a 4
again. Then we'll be talking about Taco John's.
Ooh.
Who rolled last?
Daniel did.
Okay.
Alright, so time to spin the wheel. Ooh, number 9. PT winning cube.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I did one of these today.
Ooh, how was it?
It was okay. I enjoyed it more than I genuinely enjoy like legacy level cubes. Although I am very much so in the minority in that I don't like cards that end the game on the spot. So I like modern level, power level, and this is closer to that.
That's what I.
Should we explain what the PT winning cube is?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
All right. So the PT winning cube is basically it's a 540 I believe card cube up on Magic Online currently, and the thing is, the cube is only composed of cards that have been in a Pro Tour winning deck list for a constructed Pro Tour.
And if I understand it correctly, it doesn't include all the cards that have been... Yeah, and
right.
So
some of the cards that were synergy based, so like the cards that won in the Rebels deck, some of those got cut. Just because there wouldn't be enough Rebels even if you include the full Rebels deck. So like some of those cards got cut, some of the more synergy based cards that are, just difficult, low power level, hard to work in to make it a little more of an even power curve.
And the cube it's one of those like design your own cubes or designed by the community. I believe it was designed by Eric Klug, the guy who does altars. He has, he's like a whole different topic on his own because his like altars of power and stuff's really cool. But the cube, I've only done one, but I enjoyed it. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, I did one. It was really fun. I've heard it's slightly closer, like you said, closer to modern cube in terms of power level than legacy cube. There's still like plenty of good mana fixing and stuff, so that's nice. Yeah, good decks play dual lands and fetch lands, and
naturally.
And I drafted basically a mono green deck, and I went 3-0 because nobody else was drafting green cards.
Drafting green cards at Noodly, we went 0-2, and I'm gonna have to finish that one out because we definitely got bashed one round, and then Jay played bad in one round. So that's about.
Yeah, I did do a cube draft with Salty J the other day, and we got crushed.
Who was piloting?
I was piloting.
There was a time where we like suicided our guy, and we didn't necessarily.
It was also like at 1:30 in the morning, and I was like,
it's fair. You don't need to play cube correctly. That's not necessarily the point. All the time, I guess.
Yeah, I was definitely like, I need to turn this off. I'm exhausted and not even thinking, and I'm just like clicking things. So, and I think our deck actually was pretty good though. So, but there's cards like Long Tusk Cub in the queue where it's like seems a little bit like a stretch.
On that note, the guy I lost to in the finals, one of the games I played against him, he goes turn 1 off a Mox Diamond, turn 1 Glint Sleeve Siphoner, turn 2 Winding Constrictor, turn 3 Rishkar. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's a Noodly curve.
It was just like, wait, how did you get all these and draw all of them at the same time? I lost that game.
They have a lot of...
You did.
It got bashed handily.
I mean, the one thing that was the most noodly thing about our deck was I'm playing a Renzo and Vanquisher in my deck, and Greg's like, do you know how many other elves you have in your deck? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you have 4. There's 4 other elves. And I immediately draw this hand that has like Rishkar and Renzo and Vanquisher, and that's the only time I draw it. Like the two.
Is Rishkar an elf?
Yeah.
Well played.
And I like immediately like beads.
Yeah, I saw my very first pack that I opened. I had done no research on this, so I didn't know anything that was in the cube. And I just see a Heritage Druid in the pack, and I'm just like, what is that doing there?
It did win a PT.
I guess it did.
So we're over the 3-minute mark. So if we roll a 9 again, we'll be talking about the reasonably reasonable scale.
Ooh.
Nice scale.
19.
19. The Hall of Fame fight.
Ooh, that's a good topic.
Hall of Fame fight. Okay, who can explain what the premise of this
Okay,
is?
so Hall of Fame Fight Club is each one of us is going to pick one person that's on the Magic Hall of Fame, and it's a single elimination boxing match. And we have to argue about which one of them we think is going to be the winner is single elimination boxing.
What are the rules? What kind of boxing is like MMA or just like boxing?
Just boxing.
Just boxing.
We don't need.
And they have to be in the Magic Hall of Fame, right?
Right.
Yeah, the Magic Hall of Fame. Yep.
Who are you going with?
Oh, I don't get to go first. We're gonna let Luke go first.
Who are you going with?
Well, I'm just gonna steal Huey Jensen then.
Oh, you bastard! I'm the one who recommended him.
Oh, you get bashed. Daniel, what up?
Alright. Yeah, I think Huey's a good pick. He's really tall. I'm gonna go with PV. I think PV's
he's really tall.
He's got a good edge. I think he would put up a good showing.
Do you think anyone's gonna be able to like outplay the like naturally best person or whatever, like most athletic person? Is anyone gonna be able to like outplay him through strategy, or do you think it's just gonna be like raw force?
Well, I'm just going with tall Magic.
I think people with a lot of reach are gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, height is just a big edge in boxing. So
is it?
That informed my pick a lot, yeah.
All right, Greg.
I did not know that.
I'm going to go with, Yelger? I feel like he's pretty tall.
Yelger?
Yeah, he seems tall, I think. I don't know.
He's got a killer last name.
The name is...
Vigersma is nice.
Yeah, so I was scared to try to pronounce that one.
So if we were going to go with like MMA boxing, I would have chose Kai because he seems like he could wrestle some guys to the mat. But I'm going to go with Finkel. I think he's got a long reach. And I think he's from New York, right?
Yeah.
I bet he's got some...
I believe so.
And we know he's probably got, he's got to put up with some shit, so... He's ready to fight, that's all I'm saying.
Well, I gotta say, I got fucking robbed here, because I literally came into the house, and everyone's like, Hall of Fame boxing match, and I'm like, I just snap off the Huey Jensen, because he clearly is just like a large person, and looks like he would just dominate everybody, and then Luke savagely stole it from me. So I got nothing. I concede, Luke. Well played.
So are we just in agreement that Huey Jensen
we should do a 5-person vote though, and you can't vote for your own. So, all right, those in favor of William Huey Jensen.
Well, I can't vote for myself. So.
Yeah, I think Huey's.
All right, I was gonna vote for PV. I think
he's tall. He's like.
I can't vote for PV, so
I was gonna vote for PV, but it seems like William Jensen got 3 votes, and so
I mean, who the hell knows? It's like presumably if any of them has actual fighting experience, they probably win. But like we don't know. Like
that's the kicker. If anyone has actually boxed before, they're a clear favorite. But we just have no idea. So instead, we're just going with people that look tall, long reach, strong. I don't know. So
this is the ultimate showdown. Anyway, so that was number 19. If we roll 19 again, we'll be talking about classic Simpsons. Time to spin the wheel.
13.
Number 13. Ooh, Star Wars rankings.
Ooh, the Star Wars rankings. My opinions on this are not strong. I will let others.
So
Episode 1, number 1.
Yeah, the Phantom.
Just in numeric order, 1 to 9.
Ooh, Greg, I recently rewatched the like Phantom Menace review video.
Oh, Mr. Plankett?
Yeah, it's strictly better than the original. It's like not even close.
Yeah, the review is just noodly.
The review is nice.
You should get him to talk about trade binders. I'd like to hear that. Okay, so why don't we start at the bottom and get our way to the top? So
do we have to rank all of them, or just kind of say top like 3 or whatever?
You can do your top 3, your top couple.
Let me do bottom 3, top 3.
It's been a long time since I've seen the prequels. So
I would say I think the Phantom Menace is like the not low. And I think it's kind of that, or Attack of the Clones is also very insanely bad.
So I think Attack of the Clones is worse because it's just bad. Phantom Menace it's bad, but it has very entertaining moments.
The pod racing was noodly.
The fact that it has some parts that are like legitimately very enjoyable means that it's not in the bottom 3 in my opinion. And I know this is a controversial opinion.
One of my roommates did have the original 3, and as a dagger gift, I did buy him Attack of the Clones. But that was partially because he was OCD, and I knew that getting the middle one without either of the other 2 would be the added dagger. So I mean, it's kind of. But I do think that one is probably the worst.
Yeah, I feel like the good parts of the Phantom Menace are easy to overlook. There's not many of them, but like it has a few. Like it has an excellent score. Like
it does have an excellent.
The score is good.
The score is really good.
It's true.
Some nice costumes.
The Darth Maul fight at the end has really good choreography.
I think it's between either which is the Return of the Sith, and I really don't necessarily love, or which is the one that's
Return of the Sith Revenge of the Sith was the only one of the first of those prequels that I enjoyed.
I would say it's either that one or
I thought it was reasonable.
The whatever the not Empire Strikes Back. What's the one that comes after that?
Return of the Jedi.
I would say it's either Return of the Jedi.
Pretty bad.
I would say it's either Return of the Jedi or the third prequel.
I think that's generally viewed as the worst of the originals.
Yeah, that's pretty easy opinion.
I mean, the originals are still pretty noodly in general.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a toss-up. I think.
I don't think either of those are in the bottom.
I feel like it's hard to.
Well,
compare
I think.
prequels
You think?
with, like,
What do you think is worse than those?
I think the bottom. So my bottom three is Attack of the Clones and the two new ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Dan's aggro on the new ones.
I'm aggro.
Even the cereal milk one?
Okay. The yak milk was a great scene.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite
what did you
scenes.
call it? You called it, what did you call it?
Space milk?
No, you had a different word for it the other day. You were like, when you were talking about, green milk. When you were talking about why you showed up to watch a Star Wars film.
Okay, that scene was really good. I didn't like The Last Jedi, but so... The green milk, that's just what I want in a Star Wars film, though, right? Is I want these, weird things that you don't see in real life, and I want to see the green milk. I want to see, the cantina from the first movie, where it's, they're looking around, it's all these weird people, and the band's playing, and, it's like, oh, hey, look at this dude. It's, he's got...
Do you like the unnaturally long pokey stick where he's fishing with the big stick, and then pulls off the big fish for no reason? It's like, this scene didn't need to be here, but it's there, and him just, hundreds of feet in the air just fishing away.
Yeah, that was nice. I actually like The Last Jedi. That was probably my favorite of the new ones, but...
I actually really like The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I think I'm...
I think they were both very derivative.
I think that was my issue with them. That's why I really disliked The Force Awakens, is to me it was it really was just a rehashing of Episode 4, and I just felt personally, I'm not a fan of J.J. Abrams in general, and I don't know. I kind of don't like any of the new movies, but
are we allowed?
That one just, I don't know. It seemed to me like it was just a rehashing.
Anyways, we agreed on what the bottom two were.
So those are our Star Wars rankings.
Oh no, you didn't.
Hope you followed along with that.
Can we all agree that Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, clearly. How is it a debate?
Yeah, I'm just making sure we're all on the same page here. Making sure we're all civilized.
I assume that all of our listeners are nerds and they already know the answer to that
nerds do love Star Wars.
Attack of the Clones or Empire Strikes Back is definitely the best.
All right, so I think we're well over the 3-minute mark on this topic. So if we roll a 13 again, we'll be talking about famous wheels.
Time to spin the wheel. 17.
Noodly.
If you've been paying attention, you may have noticed we've been using this word a lot in the WheelCast episodes.
So I guess you're in for a treat. You finally get to understand what's going on. So basically, noodly is just referring to things that are highly noodly. Like if you see something that's noodly, you go "Oh, that was noodly." That clears it up for you.
I would say that's pretty clear. You want to go to the next topic?
I mean, there's definitely been some moments that need to be talked about with the word noodly. For example, reading Greg's bio from the top 4 of the PT.
Wait, did you use the word noodly?
Multiple times! The other people were like, what does this mean to you? And the one person's like, I've never thought I would necessarily top 4 a PT. It really means a lot to me. It's like a huge point in my career. And Greg's response is, it's reasonably noodly. So noodly originally came from some deck that Greg concocted, which was now it's he called it Mom's Spaghetti, and at the time it was reasonably unknown. Now it's kind of become a known thing in Blue-Red Breach. So it's basically the Blue-Red Breach deck in Modern with Emrakul, but he was kind of one of the first people to come up with it. He played it in a Pro Tour, and then he just talked to us about how it was noodly because Emrakul has a bunch of
noodly appendix.
Yeah, Emrakul is very noodly, and then that just kind of stuck.
The deck had 4 Emrakuls, and it was a very noodly deck.
So the only 2 times you played noodles in a Pro Tour was 1 when you played that deck, and 2 when we played the one of Noodle in the Cyber of the Green Black deck, and not the time when you should have been playing Eldrazi Winter when me and Daniel both told you to be playing Noodles.
Well, yeah,
he did play Noodles, but he didn't play enough Noodles. noodles.
Yeah, that was the Eldrazi Winter PT.
That was Gaywatch?
Yeah, I played a blue.
You were playing the wrong noodles.
Yeah,
there were better noodles to play.
Because the thing is, we figured it out. We figured it, like, me and Alex, we figured out, we're like, hey Greg, this Eldrazi deck is really, really broken. You should probably play it. Like,
our deck was whatever the Channel Fireball list that was like mono, brown, red. Our list was like 6 or 7 cards different than theirs.
yeah.
And it was like, Greg, this deck is the nut. You should play it. And then Greg didn't play it, and he's like, oh, I should have played it. I wish I would have known.
We even had like the Simeon Spirit Guide Chalice of the Void tech that we had.
Yeah.
Are all of the Eldrazi Noodly or only Emrakul?
No, I mean, the Eldrazi are, empirically, they are noodly. I mean, just look at the fucking pictures of them.
Yeah, they are
Luke,
very noodly.
do you even flavor story, bro?
He doesn't have any noodles.
You're right. The most noodly of the 3 is Emrakul, but all of them have noodly elements.
Kozilek's just a big guy.
Nah, he
You
doesn't.
definitely have some like
noodly tentacles.
He's noodle-esque.
Also, do you read the lore?
Don't make me sit.
I
That's-
used to way back in the day, and then
That's
it sucks. So no.
So the things that you see in the art aren't the full Eldrazi. That's just a part of them that's manifested.
Yeah,
in
they're
the physical-
fourth-dimensional beings.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do I think? You think I'm an amateur?
Yeah.
Come on.
They may be fourth dimensional, but the fact that they represent themselves as noodles means a lot.
They believe in the noodle.
I mean, they clearly know what's up.
I also really like the idea that, Emrakul is kind of like a god. That's like sort of what they are. So it's kind of like
So
the
we're the
flying
only people that
spaghetti
actually play the
god.
noodles.
Yeah, and Emrakul's like Cthulhu, right? Basically.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the flying spaghetti god, and the flying spaghetti god is by definition noodly.
Yeah, that is true.
He's even more or she, I guess, is even more Cthulhu-like because in Shadows over Innistrad, she like makes people go crazy. And like
Is that
that's
what Cthulhu
an
does?
aspect of Cthulhu.
Did Cthulhu just give up at the end like a chode?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
I don't think Cthulhu gets trapped in the moon. But I'm not an expert. I haven't read all the stories.
All right,
Fair.
we ready to go to the next topic?
Alright, so if we roll 17 again, we'll be talking about Would You Rather. Time to spin the wheel.
Time to spin the wheel. 3.
Ooh, number 3 is steamed ham.
Ooh, steamed hams.
We're gonna need some explanation on that one.
No, you don't need explanation. You're taking a talk.
Shoes Moves probably has this one.
Alright, so steamed hams is, I assume a lot of you actually know what this is.
I've seen it because Greg showed me.
It's a meme that basically comes from a Simpsons episode where Principal Skinner, and this is classic Simpsons before it started to suck when it was actually good. So it's Principal Skinner has to entertain the superintendent, and he has kind of like a vaudevillian series of mishaps and mistakes and stuff. And it's like classic Simpsons. It's pretty well done and it's pretty funny. But it became a meme where basically it's just like Principal Skinner saying what is it like? He says he's gonna make steamed clams for dinner, but he like burns them.
Yeah,
so he has to go to Krusty Burger and he just like gets a bunch of hamburgers and then he like puts them down and the superintendent's like, these are hamburgers. They look like Krusty Burgers. And he's like, no, they're steamed hams. That's what my family always called them.
He's like, where's that dialect from? He's like, oh, it's from upstate New York. Or something like that.
It's a pretty good scene. But I think what's great about steamed hams is just...
the riffs.
I just think memes in general are great. I could talk about memes until the fucking cows came home, right? I mean, memes are literally... they are a new art form for our generation. This sounds like I'm a crazy person, but I legitimately think that memes are just wonderful, and they do not get enough credit.
Memes are noodly.
So, Greg, have you actually, or not Greg, Dan, have either of you actually seen the steamed hammed episodes of Simpsons?
I've definitely seen
the
it.
episode. It's pretty nice.
I haven't even.
I like the steamed hams where it's like steamed hams if it were an 90s anime intro or whatever.
I assume there's a lot of variants.
There's definitely a video, just like a music video that you showed me, where it's just like them like doing like auto-tuning of steamed hams. It's like
it's like All-Star but steamed hams.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you did.
All-Star remixes are
All-Star
nice.
remix, but instead of saying All-Star, steamed hams.
I can't handle the All-Star remixes. That's where I draw the line.
Steamed hams.
Have you seen like the Shrek movie, but every time the camera cuts, All-Star plays?
Oh no, I will never watch it.
That sounds ideal.
Pretty nice.
I hate All-Star.
I also loved the All-Star only in C.
Oh, that one was funny though.
hard to
That's the only one that I think's funny.
Alright, any closing thoughts about steamed hams?
No, I think we're good on steamed hams.
I have one closing thought. I'm an old person, so I remember when Simpsons was great, and that might sound like crazy to you if you're a young person. But if you are a young person and you think The Simpsons sucks, then forget everything you know and go watch the first 7 seasons, and I promise you, it is brilliant.
I think I have the first 7 on DVD.
Yeah, I've seen the first 7 seasons.
Alright,
You want to watch them after this?
Right now, I'm buying them up.
Alright, so if we roll a 3 again, we'll be talking about World War II.
Why?
Alright, time to spin the wheel.
That's a 20! Natural
Let's
20.
Call Kenwan.
Natty 20. Ooh! Okay, should we roll to see who calls him?
Am I
or-
doing it or are you?
No, I can do it, whatever. Actually, I should do it.
I'd be happy to
Really?
call him too.
He'll pick up if
He'll answer.
Oh, whoa, before we do this, we should just precurse this with, okay, so the category is Call Kenwan. Kenwan is our friend, plays Magic, great guy. He's probably asleep right now, I don't know. But we're gonna find out.
We're about to find out. Put it on speakerphone.
Oh, for sure. It's a lock. I'm ready to get Kenwan in here.
I don't think I actually, oh, I do have his
I'm gonna
number.
be hanging out with Kenwan tomorrow.
Should we all call him? You're calling
I
him?
definitely forgot. What if we all
Should we put him on
Kenwan?
speaker? Put him on speaker.
Yeah.
He is on speaker.
We get that voicemail. We're talking to his voicemail for 3 minutes.
Clearly.
Should we introduce? He says like, "Hey, it's Kenwan. Like, how's it going?"
Hello?
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 You what?
Hey, what's up, Kenwan?
Welcome to the WheelCast.
Welcome to the WheelCast, Kenwan.
Kenwan, we're wheelcasting right now, and 20 was Call Kenwan Tran.
Gotta go back to sleep, man.
I suppose that's fair.
Well played. Have a good night.
Oh, I feel really guilty now.
That's kind of his own pun for picking up.
Well, I mean, who doesn't just turn their phone off?
I don't, but I mean, I also don't like wake up and answer my phone.
Oh, I leave it on mine on silent.
Plus, you don't know anyone who would randomly call you at midnight. Just for the sake of a joke.
It's never a joke.
Yeah,
Alright.
but this is a very serious topic on the WheelCast.
We ready to
We
roll?
may have to apologize to our friend Kenwan
I'll see him
in
tomorrow.
the future.
Are we ready to
There's
roll?
still a minute left for this
He
topic.
doesn't. It's not like
You want to call him again? My turn.
Should we talk about how Kenwan's great and we very much so regret upsetting his sleep?
he doesn't have work or anything. It's not like he's doing
What?
anything super
Doesn't he?
important. No,
He's
I thought he had a 9 to 5.
yeah, but he's a teacher.
He's
So
a summer.
Yeah.
Oh shit, he got no. Call him again!
Actually,
Don't call him.
I was kidding, but I can't stop you.
So, but I mean, like, the only reason I realize that he's like, when he's working, he has like this stupid schedule. He like works out before he goes to work for some stupid reason. So it's like,
He does special education, right?
So like gym at like 5 in the
I remember
morning.
that now.
that's like what my parents do.
Yeah.
All right, crew, it's time to spin the wheel.
Kenwan, great guy. That's the moral of the story.
if we roll a 20 again, we'll be talking about Galaxy Quest.
Ooh, that's a good topic.
I do like Galaxy.
Alright,
Wait,
time to spin the
Who
wheel.
rolled now?
Greg, 11.
11. Elva.
Ooh, 11 is Gather Wheel.
Ooh, who's got it? Who's got it? I want to do it.
Greg's
I want
got
to do
it.
it. I want to do it. I'm going to race you,
It's a
motherfucker.
mountain.
God damn.
So
Is it really
talk about-
mountain? Can we spin again?
No, let's talk about Mountain.
No, but basically in
We didn't talk
sucks.
about Mountain
Which art is
first.
it?
Do a better one.
It's
Let's talk about Mountain. You can't cheat the wheel. You spin the wheel and you go what the wheel tells you to get.
Where did you go? How did you do that? How did you get the random one?
I had it pulled up ahead of time, and then switched to the page, and I clicked the random card button.
Where's the random card button? How do you get the random card button?
All right, so this...
we gotta talk about Mountain. Let's not get sidetracked here.
So realistically, in the last 2 years, I think it's the best land for Standard.
Yeah.
It has been.
So the guy that does the Magic Elo website or whatever, he also tracks the what cards show up in PT top 8s.
Yeah.
And so how often cards show up in PT top 8s. And for a very long time, Island was the clear #1 for copies in Pro Tour top 8s. But at some point, I think it was after Pro Tour Dominaria, Mountain passed it as the most card to show up in PT top 8s.
After PT Dominaria, that's weird. I mean, its dominance started before that.
No, but
that's what tipped the scale. That was the moment that
Mountain has been catching up. Mountain has been
Understood.
catching up to Island for many years, but PT Dominaria, when it was 7 red decks,
right,
finally tipped the scales into Mountain being the most played card in Pro Tour top 8s.
Yeah, so it's literally the best card in Magic for Standard.
You know what else is extremely strange about Mountain? It's the only card that got a reprint in Arabian Nights as the first, which is just completely inexplicable. Why? Why is it there?
They've got mountains and
It was
in the desert.
It was a mistake. Yeah,
was it a mistake?
Yeah, it's included on the common sheet. So yeah, Mountain is the most
because it is the same art too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Mountain. Or you can keep going.
It has the Arabian Nights expansion.
Yep.
symbol.
Yeah. It's extremely expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Is there
Arabian Nights mountains are really expensive.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
I mean, all Arabian Nights cards are reasonably expensive,
Correct.
but Mountain's extra so because they see playing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say the difference is that most Arabian Nights cards are wildly unplayable, but that's not true for Mountain.
Is Arabian Nights one of those sets where they have one of the cards that kills every card from that expansion?
Yeah, it's called City in a Bottle.
So if you have Mountain...
City in a Bottle, fun story. Used to see play in Vintage, because you know what it kills? Bazaar of Baghdad.
It also kills Library of Alexandria.
It preemptively kills Bazaar of Baghdad, so it's basically the craziest pithing needle for Bazaar of Baghdad ever, because you just play it, and then anytime they play a Bazaar later, it also dies. And it was the only reason it saw play, because Dredge is fucked up.
Well, here's my question. So if you build a burn deck where all the mountains are from Arabian Nights and they play that, do your lands get blown up then?
It used to be the case that they did, but they errated it a couple years back. And I remember this happened with one of the Masters Edition sets. And when City in a Bottle got added to the Masters Edition set, that's a Magic Online only release. They errated it to basically say any card that was originally printed in Arabian Nights is destroyed by the card. So to understand how this card works in actual Oracle errata, you have to know the printings of the fucking cards.
Ooh.
It's ridiculous.
Alright, so if we roll an 11 again, we'll be talking about N64 games. Time to spin the wheel.
I got a whole bunch to talk about. 9.
Ooh, that's the reasonably reasonable scale.
I don't know what that is.
You should explain this.
Greg, lay it on us.
Alright, so the reasonably reasonable scale is a 5-point scale that...
Well, it's 4 points.
No, it's 5, because in the middle is just reasonable.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Learn new things every day. Alright, take it away, Greg.
So let's see if I can remember it. So it is... I think unreasonably unreasonable is the worst. Reasonably unreasonable is the second worst. Reasonable is in the middle. Reasonably reasonable is good, and then unreasonably reasonable is the best.
But the best thing about this scale is that if you present it to somebody, they immediately and intuitively grasp it. I remember at a certain Star City Games event, we were traveling, we were going out to dinner, and we know all the guys from Minnesota who are casters, so that includes Ryan Overturf. We're going out to dinner with Ryan Overturf, and we're basically hey Ryan, somebody says something about something being, oh, that's very reasonably reasonable. And Ryan's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And we're like, okay, here's the deal, Ryan. And we explained to him the scale. He just instantly grasps it and then starts using it himself. It was wonderful.
Yeah, so yeah.
It was unreasonably reasonable.
It was unreasonably reasonable, I would say.
I would say the scale is reasonably reasonable overall, and you should probably use it reasonably often, or at least as often as you can reasonably use it in a reasonable amount of time.
I would say that the scale is unreasonably reasonable.
That sounds reasonably reasonable.
The only scale that I know of that's as good as the reasonably reasonable scale is the scale of 0 to 1 scale. The scale of 0 to 1 scale is just, what is it on a scale of 0 to 1? And when you ask this question, most people, they try to give you a fraction, and then you just gotta shut them down. But no, it's 0 or it's 1.
That's a nice binary scale.
It is nice.
I feel like the reasonably reasonable scale leaves a lot of gray area. And sometimes you can even loop the ends together, so it's like a circular scale, but then it gets even more complicated.
How do you do that?
Well, then like loops, so after it gets so bad, then it comes around and it gets good again.
What?
Instead of being unreasonably, sometimes it's so unreasonably unreasonable that it's unreasonably reasonable instead. That's the only way I can describe it.
My brain does not comprehend the unreasonable loop around.
I don't get the loop around.
This conversation is becoming unreasonable.
I think the loop is solidly reasonably reasonable.
I would call it reasonably unreasonable, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely reasonably unreasonable.
But let me reiterate that the reason this scale is so great is because literally all you have to do is explain it exactly once to anybody and they will instantly understand how to use it.
Alright, so if we roll a 9 again, we'll be talking about dad jokes.
Ooh, time to spin the wheel. Ooh, 8. Almost.
That was close.
80, return to Ravnica.
I'm having too much fun, Luke. Don't ruin it for me.
Well, there's no cards previewed for this yet, right?
No, it's just on my
So
horizon.
where's Rick to talk about this shitty storyline?
I know what's going on in the story.
All right, well, tell us what's up in this storyline.
It's pretty, I don't know. They're going to fight Nicol Bolas and Ravnica, probably.
What? We had to deal with that jackass again?
Yeah.
He's the lamest. He is the lamest supervillain ever. He is lame for the same reason that Superman is lame.
No.
He has no motivation. He has no personality attributes. He's just, look at me, I'm evil. And then he puts his hands together. I'm making a little motion right now so you can't see it. But he puts his hands together like Montgomery Burns and he's like, ooh, I'm evil.
So he is a very bland, boring villain. Like superhero is a very bland, boring hero. But I like him because he actually wins sometimes, which is a thing that most villains don't get to do.
The Phyrexians won.
What about
They're also nice villains.
Yeah, but they're so much cooler than shitty Nicol Bolas.
Yawgmoth is nice.
Okay, but most villains try to do their thing and lose on the first try, and then you never hear from them again.
That is true.
So I like Nicol Bolas because he actually makes it interesting and wins sometimes.
I mean, I like that he beat the shit out of the Gatewatch, because fuck those guys.
Well,
But
I like Nicol Bolas because most of his cards are really nice.
I mean, I like putting him on the stack.
Yeah.
No one's going to disagree with that.
I
will say this about Nicol Bolas. I recently got into drafting M19, and I'm extremely good at opening him, and I did it 3 times, and I'm just very up in money on Moto. It's nice.
Is very good.
I have opened the last time I did
he was
that
never in my deck.
I also
We
opened a
opened in
Nicol
pack
Bolas,
3.
and it was for value because I was drafting with Drake and said, what would be the nicest card to open here? Probably would just be Nicol Bolas, so let's open one of those. And I snap open a Nicol Bolas to that pack for the value.
Yeah, it's a doubly valuable if you get to play it in your deck.
No,
I did get to
green
play him
white-
in one of the 3 times I opened him, and I did get to flip him exactly once.
Ooh,
So it was pretty nice.
I got to play him once at a GP side event and flip him and promptly lose to my opponent off the tiz.
You lost
Lightning
after
striking me in the
flipping?
dome.
I got bashed by one in the GP main event where my opponent kept 2 mountains and as his only lands and a Nicol Bolas, and he cast it on turn 4.
Get savagely outplayed, I suppose.
And he was on the play.
I may have also lost to Nicol Bolas.
Nicol Bolas is definitely not Noodly. I think we need to be rolling again. It's looking like...
Do we even like talk about Return to Ravnica?
Not really.
We just talk about Nicol Bolas.
So how do we feel about Return to Ravnica?
I'll say
Ravnica
this.
3 Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
That's a nice meme.
Or Ravnica 3 Dream Warriors.
Well, but it's gonna be Ravnica 3 and then Ravnica 4 and Ravnica 5 because there's gonna be 3 sets in Ravnica.
Well, is it?
Oh, is it 3 or is it only 2?
It's 3, isn't it?
Ravnica 3.
But I bet they're like different.
They stopped making blocks though.
Yeah, no,
They did stop making blocks.
3 big sets.
So it's just 3 one-shot Ravnica?
It's just gonna take the Gatewatch 3 sets to beat Nicol Bolas.
Well, spoiler, we don't know if they're gonna beat them. I hope they get crushed again.
Are you saying this is a known thing? We're gonna be on Ravnica for 3 sets?
Yeah, they already announced it.
Oh, okay. I must have missed this.
So the first one has 5 guilds, the second one has 5 guilds, and I think the third one will have all 10.
Ew, they really doing that again?
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge punt.
I agree.
Because I think that was a very bad mistake the first time they did it. Because, for those who don't know, I draft a lot. So I have a lot of opinions on draft. Gatewatch, or what was it called? Gatecrash?
Yeah.
Gatecrash had some problems because there weren't enough kill spells. And that led to some kind of issues with just kind of like things like Madcap skills were a little bit too good and aggro was a little bit too good. But Return to Ravnica was a very good
Gatecrash man.
That's true. A Gatecrash man.
Return to Ravnica was an excellent format. Gatecrash had a few problems, but it was just because I made a few mistakes. But Dragons of Tarkir, or Dragon's Maze was a train wreck. And the reason is because of that 5 guild structure. That was because what they ran into is in the final set they were kind of like painted into a corner where they had to support all of the mechanics that had happened in the first 2 sets and also provide something new to make the set interesting, and it ended up leading to a draft format that was practically unplayable.
Are you aware that your argument is entirely invalid because all 3 sets are going to be drafted with 3 copies of this, 3 copies of that, 3 copies of the other one?
I had forgotten about that. That's a good point.
Alright, with that said, on to the next topic. What is this one being replaced with?
So Return to Ravnica 3D will be replaced with Flat Earth Conjecture.
Ooh, noodling. 16. What's that say?
That's the Wiki Wheel.
Ooh, that's better.
Bring on some history.
Come on, Basic Mountain.
If it was Basic Mountain.
That'd be the new.
Is that a Wikipedia entry?
I bet there is something on Basic Mountain.
Ooh, so this.
I'm not sure, but let's find out.
Let's see. This Wikipedia article is about Leo Nimsic. He's a member of the British Columbia Legislative Assembly for Kootenay.
What? Can I see that?
I guess.
Is this man alive?
He was a miner and a political figure in British Columbia. He
Kootenay?
represented Cranbrook from 1949 to 1966, Kootenay from 1966 to 1975, and Legislative Assembly of British Columbia as a cooperative Commonwealth Federation, and then the New Democracy Party.
I need to read the whole thing.
So basically, this topic is just about Canadian politicians. So what do you think about Justin Trudeau? Go, Dan.
I want to talk about this guy.
No, fuck that guy.
This guy's
He died at age 91.
He did 91.
But what did he do?
He did about yay much.
What did he do? He got elected to Parliament. He was a
miner, bro.
It doesn't say anything about his legislative
He was
record.
in office from 1949 to 1975, boo.
He was clearly popular with the constituents. It sounds like he had he was a miner, and then he went on to a position in government. That's a very impressive thing to do.
Yeah, I will say, having kind of a working class position like that and getting into government is that's hard to do.
It is kind of funny that it lists
to an elected official position. That's very impressive.
It definitely lists him as a miner farmer, and then has 40 years of being government work, and it's but they list the occupation as strictly as miner/farmer.
But the real question is, do you think he's as fuckable as Trudeau?
Whoa! We are buying Will S. whiskey next time.
No, I'm just saying, Trudeau is known in the female and, male attracted to communities as being a,
I don't know that.
Nice look.
I didn't know
How
that.
did you not know this? Everyone is constantly talking about Trudeau's a fucking babe. Would bang, yes please.
Oh, yeah.
Dear.
I can't speak to that too much, I guess.
It's hard. I'm a bad judge of that thing.
I mean, I'm not judging. I'm saying this is what other people have said.
Yeah, I mean...
Justin Trudeau. Very liberal.
I mean...
I would say, like, mediumly liberal.
Well, what I mean by very liberal is I mean, like, centrist. But yeah.
Very centrist, I'll agree with, yeah.
Alright, well...
Let's spin the wheel before he talks about more hot man bods anymore.
Whatever. Y'all are fucking prudes. I don't know what to say.
We need to put like a disclaimer: R-rated content.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
much
We should
sexual.
change it to Prudecast.
We're gonna get flagged. The prude cast.
Isn't that what it was supposed to be all along?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
We're just drinking some chocolate milk.
Look, all I'm saying is the more of this
Some
UV
cherry
cherry you give me, the more likely I am to talk about Justin Trudeau's hot pot.
Alright, so if we roll a 16 again, we will be talking about, let's see, what are we up to? Ooh, Tenacious D.
Ooh, I don't know much about him, but I have liked what I've learned.
It's not a him; it's a group.
It's his
Yeah.
band.
I thought it was a specific guy.
Alright,
No, it's Jack Black's
we'll
band.
Save it till we roll
Alright,
the
yeah,
topic.
we'll roll it.
Time to spin the wheel. Ooh,
4.
Number 4. Taco John.
Oh, man.
Ooh, I'm gonna be a contrarian here.
Yeah.
What's that?
I actually like Taco John's more than Taco Bell.
That's wild.
That is wild.
That is an unplayable opinion.
Yeah.
That's unreasonable.
All right,
unreasonable.
next topic. Move to the next topic. The top of the list, Booze has to leave.
Booze has to leave, but not drive home.
Yeah.
But not drive home.
If I was stone sober, I would tell you this about Taco John's. I have always liked Taco John's more than Taco Bell.
So I think Taco John's
What do you
is
order at
playable.
Taco John's?
I like Taco John's. Taco John's is good, but it's not better than Taco
it's
Bell.
mono potato ole, and that's the only thing that's better. Because having like the idea of tater tots plus tacos is kind of noodly.
Plus the value is just not as good.
No, yeah.
I'm not into restaurants for value. I differ with you on that.
You always talk about how you want a cheap restaurant, don't
You always talk about you're not into the value, but then you like only go to restaurants based on value. It's like their main decision like point anyway, right?
It's not my main decision
Well, I
point.
mean, you never go to like the 5-star steak restaurant because
Well,
the value is no concern to me.
That's because I can't afford it. That's different.
Because I can't afford it, the value's clearly a concern.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta appreciate the value.
So
You're saying what you're claiming is that I am inconsistent.
yeah.
That's true.
That is definitely true.
There's
I
some,
can't disagree.
So Taco John's is definitely worse than Taco Bell. Don't
Yep.
listen to this madman. He's talking about man bods, so obviously his opinion doesn't fucking matter.
Hey, what do you have against man?
I
Whoa!
don't know that.
Can we take a moment to just destroy Salty J?
We have nothing against men that are attracted to other men. It's just that his opinion on this is just unplayable.
Yeah.
Also, it's true that I'm not actually attracted to other men. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Sure, whatever.
I'll discriminate against people who think that Taco John's is better than Taco Bell. I'm okay with discriminating.
What do you have
that.
against my people?
Those be my peeps.
They just have bad taste buds.
Yeah, they're bad value buds.
They got bad value
They
buds.
definitely have bad value buds.
They had a genetic defect where they were born with bad value buds.
So I'll say that I went to school in Madison, and there is a Taco John's and a rest stop that's about halfway from Minneapolis to Madison. So I ate there pretty frequently. So they have some good items, but it's just not as good as Taco Bell. So sometimes if I was like willing to wait, I would just wait until I got to Madison and get Taco Bell instead.
I feel like I've probably been to this Taco John's. I've been on some road trips to play bad.
I mean,
I've definitely been to that Taco John's.
yeah, I definitely think I've been. I actually think.
It's built into the gas station.
It's like halfway there.
Yeah, it's got a Subway in there, and you just never go to the Subway because there's a Taco John's.
Going to Subway over Taco John's would be a huge pump.
Yeah,
Subway's
no one
just
likes
one of the worst
Subway.
fast food restaurants.
Subway sucks balls.
I do think I like it. Glad they're all in agreement that Subway is Taco John's is worse, but Subway's unplayable.
Subway lacks value and
I wouldn't
quality.
quite say unplayable, but you only go.
I've never been to a Subway and been like, pleasantly surprised. It's like
I've
always
never
like
been happy after eating at a Subway.
Yeah, I agree.
I always feel like the food was bad and I spend too much money.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So if we roll a 4 again, we'll be talking about top 5 Disney.
8.
8.
Flat Earth conjecture.
Alright. Take it away, Greg!
Alright, so there's like apparently a small subset of people that believe that the Earth is flat. I guess it'd normally be called flat Earth theory, but I feel like the word theory gives it like too much like credence.
Yeah, that's definitely the
It's
case.
like it makes it sound like the theory of gravity or something, where like flat Earth conjecture sounds like you're just like spewing.
You need to have evidence to have a theory.
Yeah.
You don't need to have you don't need to have shit to have.
You don't
conjecture.
necessarily need evidence for a theory, but you do need a credible explanation, which they
I
lack.
think theories technically do have to have
I think
evidence.
the theories do need evidence.
I think also theories can't have already been disproven.
That is definitely true.
I'd like to call it the flat Earth conspiracy because that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it. Just like
I do have a flat Earth story. So we have like a group chat at work, and I was like, they're like, you can't prevent anyone from joining. And I was like, oh, well, how do we like, let's not make it something generic. Let's make it like a group name that nobody will ever join ever. And I'm like, why don't we name our group chats The Earth is Flat? And so that no one ever joins by mistake.
Did anyone join?
No, we didn't end up being named The Earth is Flat, which I'm still disappointed about, but...
Yeah, so I guess we should probably go into detail about the flat Earth conjecture / conspiracy. So basically, there's a very this list of like weird rules where like they can't explain everything all at once, but they have like little explanations for like things here and there. Like there isn't gravity, but like the Earth is just moving upward.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, Greg has apparently done some research.
Greg is
on
very
this.
Well, there's 2 explanations for gravity. One is it's just buoyancy, which makes no sense at all. Because you can't have buoyancy without gravity. And the other one I've heard is that the Earth is just moving upward. But I don't know if they're including like acceleration in that, if it's always accelerating or just moving upward, but it's neither here nor there. Like there's other weird explanations for like how the sun works, because I don't know, it's like a spotlight that like shines down and moves in a circle, but then like why is it like a spotlight that always shines in like a weird crescent shape that covers about half of the planet?
What's their explanation for just like why doesn't anyone just sail to the edge of the universe and take a fucking autograph?
That's the first thing that I asked, and I think there's a pretty funny.
There is an explanation for that. It's that the edge of the Earth, which is I believe Antarctica, is just constantly guarded by the world's government.
Oh, it's the Illuminati all over again.
They're in cahoots to prevent you from knowing the truth, Shoesboot.
They don't want you to know the truth, Dan.
Yeah. Antarctica.
It's too much for you to handle. But we figured it out.
Then you might be opposed to the fluoride in the water.
On the flat Earth, Antarctica is like a circle. It's like a barrier around the Earth.
Yeah. So there's just literally like guards stationed at like every 5 yards or something. Or
and the world's governments work together to make sure that no one goes too far.
That's the only thing that they work together on. But they're really good at that one thing.
Kim Jong-un could sign this treaty.
Yeah, can't mess with big NASA.
The best thing to the best thing to come out of the flat Earth is the memes, because there's one where it's like there's a bunch of dinosaurs in the flat Earth, and a meteor comes, it hits it, and then it flings the dinosaurs off the. It's like a
catapult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a catapult.
I love the flat Earth
So I
meme.
feel like that's about yay much on the flat Earth conjecture. So if we roll an 8 again, we'll be talking about Tenacious D.
We already did Tenacious D.
Did we do?
Yeah, you already
that's
put
on
that
there.
on.
We can
We're
put
running
today
out
on
of
the
Talking
DL
about favorite song covers.
Favorite song covers.
We're running out of topics.
No, not yet.
We've got a few in the tank.
Time to spin the wheel.
That's It's a reroll.
All right, reroll.
Yeah.
Not another. How much?
18.
Jurassic Park.
Ooh, classic episode.
Very nice.
It's a Simpsons episode, I'm assuming.
Nope.
No, it's
Futurama.
Close.
One of the best Futurama episodes.
Definitely
Personally, I think it's one of the just best episodes of TV. Period.
Someone should summarize the episode, or at least the ending.
Do we want spoilers or no? I guess we have to spoil.
It's
it.
an old show. I don't think.
Yeah. So
cares.
spoilers for Jurassic Park, but how it ends. So during the whole episode, essentially Fry is in the future because it's Futurama. He was frozen for 1,000 years. You know what Futurama is, presumably. Anyway, Fry finds
if you don't Google it.
Yeah, Fry finds his old dog in a museum, and he's like mummified or something.
Ooh. Yep.
And so he goes on this quest to like reanimate his dog or clone his dog or whatnot. And then at the very end of the episode, he decides that he realizes that the dog didn't die when he was young. He lived to the ripe old age of, I believe, 19.
Yep.
And so
very old dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he decides to not reanimate the dog, but because the dog probably forgot about him a long time ago, he's just gonna let the dog stay dead and move on with his life. And then you'd think that would be where the episode ends, but then it cuts to a flashback scene where you see the dog and Fry playing with the dog outside of the restaurant. Then Fry leaves one day because he's sent to the future. And it's just a montage of the dog waiting for several years for Fry to come back.
Yep.
And there's a sad song playing. If it takes forever.
And the very final scene.
I'm almost tearing up right now. It's very sad. It's amusing, but it's very, very sad.
Every single time I see this episode, full disclosure, I literally cry. Because it sounds cheesy, but it is just a beautiful piece of film work. It is. I mean, you guys are laughing right now, but seriously, like I could not say enough positive about this episode. It's just. It is poignant, and it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful work of fiction.
It's really well done.
I absolutely love it.
Really well done.
It takes a lifetime. I'm waiting for you.
I might have to watch this now.
Have you not seen Futurama?
Oh, I've seen some episodes, but not
Futurama is an underrated show. There's some really, really good episodes.
This is one of the best Futurama.
This is one of the best. It's like top 5.
Probably the best in my opinion. Although I haven't seen all the episodes.
I've seen all of them twice, I think, and there's like a couple others that I think.
Or like the late Future J. Fry.
Did you like
I
that
think
one?
there's 2 or 3 episodes that are on this level.
Did you like the Slurm one?
So there are a couple other really good ones.
What year does he start in? What counting?
1999. Well, it's
It's
New Year's
2000.
Oh, okay.
Eve. New Year's Eve, 1999.
And the show came out in 2000,
Okay.
so that's the shtick.
Yeah. But I feel like that's specifically New Year's Eve, 1999.
It is. It is.
That dog would be like among one of the oldest dogs to ever live. I feel like the oldest dog that's ever lived is only like 21 or something, right?
Yeah.
Like a 19-year-old.
I don't remember the exact years old that it is.
It was pretty up there.
It was
about yay old.
It was about yay old.
But basically, when Fry goes to the future, the dog's only like 2 or 3.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the whole episode, he's kind of like planning to reanimate him, and then at the very last minute, the professor's like, he's got some like machine or whatever that's doing a reading, and he's like, oh, your dog was 15 when he died or whatever.
Okay.
And that's what sort of triggers him to make the final decision. So,
yeah, to like move on and whatnot. Anyway, if we roll an 18 again, we'll be talking about WheelCast probabilities. Time to spin the wheel.
9.
Ooh, 9. Dad jokes.
Dad jokes are nice.
No.
Dad jokes
unplayable.
Not unplayable. Dad jokes is super nice. I love dad jokes.
Give us an example.
I'm actually more of a pun guy than I am dad jokes.
Isn't that the same thing?
It's one and the same, I feel.
I had a nice pun when we were in Albuquerque at the PT when we were driving back, and then they gave me a B+, and I thought a B+ was quite accurate.
Well, what was the pun?
Remember when we were riding in the car, and the lady kept telling us, she was kind of a little weird, but she kept telling us about the Revolutionary War, and she was like talking about how the reason that French people hate the U.S. was because during the Revolutionary War, France aided the U.S. and in return they expected us, once they helped us win the war, that we would then buy goods from France, but instead, we just decided after we won the war to just go back to our family members in England and buy goods from them anyways. And we're like, screw you, France.
I mean, the cheeses are too stinky.
And I turned to someone who was sitting right next to me in the back. I said,
probably me.
And I turned to Daniel and I go, you know what they say, family before France.
Oh my god. Okay, I have to say, as cringe-worthy as that is so much better than a dad joke because it's off the cuff and it's spontaneous and it's clever.
It was pretty funny.
Is it clever though?
It is. To come up with it just like on the spot is clever. And that's what makes it nice.
Yeah, that's good.
The reason dad jokes suck is because they sit there and rehearse them in front of a fucking mirror for 18 hours.
Well, I have an Abe pun if you want to hear that one. And that was said to me on the spot. I didn't say this one, so I'm not going to take credit. It was like a random that said it to me.
Hit us.
So I just got done at a concert, and the person I was with, she wanted to go get food, and so we went into some place, and she was ordering, and I just got a glass of water, and I went in, and it's like where they have like the spouts that like, you know, one is water and one is the beverage. And so the water gun was on the high C punch, and I go in, and me and this guy go at the same time, and he goes, I see you beat me to the punch.
That joke's unplayable.
That joke's nice. That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, I would run it, but I would feel bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, you would know you're a bad person.
Most of the time when you run a dad joke, it's not like, oh, I'm a great human being.
Alright, so if we roll a 9 again, we'll be talking about the study of Wumbo.
What on earth does that mean?
We have to wait and see.
I guess so.
Time to spin the wheel!
3.
What's
going on?
World War II.
Oh, man.
World War II. Why is this on the list? I mean, I legitimately have tons of opinions about World War II.
Well, then you done boost.
Don't want to hear them.
Well, lay one of them, or like half of one. A quarter. 15%.
Quarter one?
12.5%.
Okay.
1/8.
I got one. I'm going to talk to you about Albert Speer.
Who's that?
Albert Speer was...
It sounded like more than 15%.
Albert Speer was he was the architect. He was Hitler's architect. Now, here's the thing that's crazy about Albert Speer. At the very end of World War II, he started to go against Hitler and kind of try to sabotage him and stuff. But it was unclear whether or not he was just doing that for his own personal gain. During the Nuremberg trials, he was the only Nazi to admit fault, to admit that he had done something wrong, and to essentially say, you know, I was part of something bad. As a result, he was one of the only Nazis who was not hung. He was imprisoned for about 20 years or something like that. And during this time, he wrote his memoirs. The reason this is so interesting is because his memoirs are sort of like really hard to process as a historian because on the one hand, he has this like very interesting insight into what the Third Reich's administration was like and what was like actually like working with Adolf Hitler. But on the other hand, nobody can really trust that what he's saying is legitimate because it's kind of like, well, are you just saying this just to like...
Right, are you bailing yourself out?
Exactly. So it's like this really kind of like thorny, complicated kind of like, do we trust this guy what he says? Like when he says that he's sorry, do we think that he's really sorry?
How reliable is the narrator?
Exactly, and it's a very interesting just kind of historical factoid or whatever. And
what's this guy's name again? And how do you spell it? I want to write it down in my phone to like save it for later in case I want to check it out, and also for the listener at home.
Yep, Speer is Speer. So I've read his...
And it's Albert, right?
Yep, Albert. I've read his autobiography, and I've read some works that were basically, like, critiquing him and saying, like, this guy isn't who he says he is. He's, you know, basically a Nazi, and then as soon as he was caught, he sort of, like, you know, tried to backpedal or whatever. But it's just kind of, like, an interesting story about, you know, the nature of texts and kind of, like, how reliable they are. I don't know.
Have you seen Inglourious Bastard?
I have, and it's a great movie.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno is a very nice.
On the topic of conspiracy theories, do you guys think that Hitler died in the bunker? Did he escape to Argentina?
100% died.
I believe he died.
We're super
I mean, he's definitely dead by now, obviously, right? Even if he got
He did not escape to Argentina. Plenty of people did, but he didn't.
Okay.
Well,
No way.
That's reasonably.
All right, we
No
probably
way.
talked about that one for a full 3.
Alright, so if we roll, was that number 3 again, we'll be talking about Nacho Box.
What on?
Time to spin
Taco
the
Bell.
wheel.
I was gonna say
A John's man would say that, wouldn't he?
Number 6. Ooh, number 6 is favorite card names.
All right, Daniel, this is your topic. You probably have it lined up.
Yeah, so I suggested one of these because I was thinking about the other day, and there are a lot of sweet card names out there. So there are a lot of like I think murder is a really good card name to have on a card because it does exactly what you think it would do. It just murders a creature.
It's very evocative.
Yeah. Or there are also a lot of names that are nice because they're kind of funny. So Cloud Goat Ranger. What is a Cloud Goat?
What?
And how do you...
Clearly he ranges the Cloud Goat.
But it makes Kifkins. Why does that make sense?
Why is it Cloud Goat Ranger? He makes Kifkin tokens.
Because he flies?
He does fly.
Maybe he made goats.
What are
originally.
Cloud Goats?
They didn't change the name.
Alright, how do you feel about Hot Soup as a card name?
I mean, Hot Soup's fucking all-time great.
The soup's just too hot.
You can't block him. The soup's too hot.
The best part about Hot Soup is that it's a historic card because it's an artifact.
Hot Soup is an artifact of history.
Hot soup is
Fair.
very historic.
I would say so.
All right, Luke, what's a card that you like the name of for any...
I like the gimmicky ones, like Apex of Power. It's Nicol Bolas at his Apex of Power.
Okay.
Omniscience. He's being omniscient.
Yeah.
My favorite card names are just the ones that are just pure corny. Like
Hot Soup.
Hot Soup is definitely up there. I mean, I guess sometimes it goes hand in hand with flavor text. I don't know. I like Werebear.
Ooh, yeah.
Werebear is nice.
Yeah, the flavor text
Werebear
on
is
that one is
nice.
good,
Hex. That's a nice way.
Oh, Hex is a brilliant work of art. Hex is fucking unimpeachable.
What
I
is
mean,
the flavor
okay,
text?
so Hex, you know what it does?
Yeah, destroy 6 creatures.
Destroy 6 creatures. It costs 6 mana.
Yep.
It has 6 words in its fucking rules text. It is a work of art.
But it also has the noodliest flavor text.
What's the flavor tags?
When killing 5 just isn't enough.
Oh no, that's what it is. It's not 6 words in the
It's
6 words in the flavor text.
Yeah.
My mistake. That's what it is.
I did the math. I was like, that's
Yep,
6.
that's
Hey,
6.
that's 6.
Lock it in.
Yeah, it checks out, I
nice.
assume.
I kind of like Heartstabber Mosquito. That's kind of a sweet name.
That's just a good card.
Stab him.
I like it's a good card.
It's a nice name.
That was the one in
Stab.
Zendikar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite card name, Greg?
You can't say Dirtlebird. Or
Ooh,
Sphinx's
Dirtlebird is
I mean,
the
Sphinx's
word.
Revelation has gotten the most dance moves out of him.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, maybe
Nice
counterspell
name,
or
though.
something like that.
Liquor?
Something straightforward, counterspell.
That's your
It does
favorite
counter a
name?
spell.
Maybe Divination's
one
pretty
that-
good.
Divination is quite noodly. I don't know. I was just thinking of something that's very straightforward.
I do enjoy when they did the Great Creature type update, which was when they basically errated a bunch of creatures to one of the rules they used was anything that appeared in the actual name of the card had to be one of the creature types if it was a legal creature type. So there's certain creatures whose creature type line is exactly the same as their actual name, like Elvish Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
Elvish Warrior is an elf warrior. So I like that. There's more than just that one. There's a couple of them.
That's nice.
Is Ollie from Cairo still an Ollie from Cairo, or is he human?
I assume he is a human.
I think he's like a wizard or something.
But I don't know beyond that.
He could be a human wizard.
Alibaba.
I'm gonna say my favorite creature or my card name, but also creature name before we sign off. So the background is I took a bunch of French in high school and stuff, and so my favorite name is Reveillark because réveiller in French means to wake up basically. So Reveillark is basically the wake up bird.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
you
nice,
like this
though.
more than the fisherman card or whatever.
Old man from the
Come on,
sea.
it's the wake up bird, and it
Yeah,
wakes up creatures
but
out
the-
of your graveyard into play. That's
But
so
the
nice.
fucking descent of the fisherman.
But it's an elemental.
Oh, that was just a bad translation.
Yeah, but it's so nice.
They did get an accent wrong, and it was descend upon the fishermen instead of descend upon the sinful. But the wake up bird is just like
wake up bird is nice. I think it's funny that no one in English ever pronounces Reveillark, which is probably how it should be pronounced.
Well, yeah,
they always pronounce it Reveillark, but it's technically Reveillark because Reveille is actually a word in English, which refers to when a bunch of trumpets are like are performing like. Yep, it's like when a bunch of trumpets are like for the military or whatever. It's like the wake up call for that's a reveille. It's not a revel, it's a reveille. So it should be Reveillark.
This word was probably taken from French when the French were in control of England.
I assume.
Imagine.
Don't words like change their pronunciation when you like combine them with other words?
Yeah, but I'm an old fart, so I'm gonna be.
I'm pretty sure we're probably like 7 minutes down.
Alright, if we roll 6 again, we'll be talking about fortune cookies.
Hot soup. Let's go.
Alright,
fortune.
Time to spin the wheel again.
Who's up? You?
Sure, I'll spin the wheel.
16.
Tenacious D.
Ooh! Alright.
It says,
what's the best song in the world?
alright.
Dude, I totally miss you. I really fucking miss you. I'm all alone all the time, all the time.
I did not mean to blow your mind. But that shit happens to me all the time.
A long ass fucking time ago in a town called Kickapoo. Alright.
The humble family, religious through and
Who here has
through.
actually seen the movie The Pick
But
of
yeah,
Destiny?
there was a black sheep.
I didn't.
And he knew just what to do.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Have you seen it? The Pick of Destiny?
Yeah.
So what did you think?
10 out of 10 would watch again.
10 out of 10 would watch again is definitely Noodly. Like, there's so many scenes that are just, like, perfect. Like, the government totally sucks is, like, A+. When they're, like, in the store, and there's, like, the guy who's, like, you know, there's government conspiracies, and they're, like, trying to buy weapons, like, under the radar, and they're, like, he, like, gets his guitar, and he's, like, the government totally sucks, you motherfucker. The government totally sucks. He's like, yeah, buy all these, like, weapons I shouldn't be selling you. But they have, like, all these really awesome moments built into this movie. It's like a musical, but it's with Jack Black, and it's ran with all these, like, random songs, and they somehow make a movie out of it.
This is really funny.
It's
Should we tell people what Tenacious D is? In case
that
they
might be
don't
important.
know?
I think most people know.
I
We could just
assume.
sing more songs by them
Ooh,
instead.
I fired off with like 20 seconds of Judah.
The only Tenacious D song that I know is the one where they just played him going through the drive-thru with his bandmate, and he's like orders like 10 things, and he's like, "Hey, what do you want?" And his buddy orders like 2 things, and she's like, "Oh, you know, your total is $22.50 or whatever," and he's like, "Oh, how much money do you have?" And he's like, "Oh, I got $20." He's like, "Oh, take the last 2 things off the order, and then let's go." And they're just the only things that his friend ordered, and he's paying with his friend's money.
That's pretty brilliant. That is brilliant.
The only Tenacious D song I know is the one where it's something about like sometimes you gotta, you know,
Don't
fuck them
always
softly
have to
or
fuck her
whatever.
hard.
That's the only one
Sometimes
I
that's
know.
not right to do.
I don't remember.
Sometimes you got to make some love. Fucking give us some smooches too. Do you know the words of the song? I really sing it by myself.
Sometimes you gotta fuck her gently.
Sometimes you got
Yeah,
to
that's the one.
squeeze.
Sometimes you got to say please.
Sometimes you got to say, hey, I'm gonna fuck you softly. I'm gonna screw you gently. I'm gonna hump you sweetly. I'm gonna ball you discreetly.
Alex practices this in front of the mirror.
I
so-
said I was working all day. I worked at 10, and it was 10 hours of me in front of the camera doing some D. And not, that maybe sounded wrong.
When are the next American Idol auditions?
Yeah. Alright, so that seems like a
That was about a minute and a half of Salty J doing a Tenacious D song, so I better roll it up.
Wait, if we roll 16 again, we will be talking about the International Bank of Luck.
What? I don't know what that is.
We might need to move that one down since
That's on the list already.
It's on the list, alright.
10.
think that's a good one.
Greg wins a PT.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
It's been a while. It's been a while since Greg's won a PT, but he's not talking about.
Well, I had a point to make about this, which was just that the fact that he won it. So, for those who don't know, Greg's from Minneapolis. We're all from Minneapolis. During the finals, we all came out and we were like sitting in the stands or whatever, watching on the screen. And when he finally won, we all like jumped up and rushed out and like high-fived him and stuff. And it was just the coolest thing ever to be there and actually witness it happen. Like, that was just like a blast.
I don't know if it's ever happened before in the history of Magic where someone is locally living where the PT happens, and all their friends just get to come to the venue and bum rush the stage when he wins.
I can't think of it.
It was very nice. I know that Huey Jensen did win Worlds in his hometown.
Okay.
So that's a kind of a parallel.
Yeah,
okay, that's fair.
That's
fair.
I was gonna say that Greg skillfully chose to win the PT that had the most prize money.
He did. It also queues up for Worlds in like a month.
Yeah, that's also true. It was a bit,
So he immediately gets to fire into Worlds like in a month.
Timing.
And also at a point where like the PT,
Did you get
the
to
PT
cancel your
system
plane
made it
ticket
harder
for
to
this
achieve
weekend?
status.
Nice.
Yep.
So now you actually get locked for a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right, because most people are worried about sort of like the rolling calendar qualifications, whereas Greg is just locked for a year for Platinum.
The season is still going on for like a month, and I have Platinum locked already this month.
It is nice to be locked for Plat.
Don't need any pro points for like a whole.
So in the next 30
Well, I
seconds,
guess
talk about your like
that's-
biggest takeaways from winning the PT.
It's Noodly.
What would you do different, Greg?
Probably nothing.
Probably run it all back.
Would you give more sweet peeks on camera?
That's the GIF is like all-time greatest GIFs of all time.
I mean, I've went back and watched some other Magic gifts that were like actually kind of popular, and this is just better. It's better than like the table flipping one. It's like better than a lot of like
The table flipping one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the funniest Magic moment to ever be caught on camera, in my opinion.
It's pretty good.
It's definitely better. Like the only other one I can even think of is the Conley Woods one where he's like, "Come at me," but like the Reg one's way better.
Well, it's also just a weird. It's a weird situation because like I didn't expect him to get caught on camera, and also like I was just doing it like, oh, this would be funny because like I can't possibly lose this game.
Yeah.
So like I might as well.
You had to do it for the massive rub.
It's also extra funny for those of us who know Greg because we've seen him do this exact same thing in a million matches before, and to see it happen on Pro Tour coverage in the fucking finals against Martin Juza is just ridiculous.
I think it was in the finals.
It wasn't in the finals.
I don't even think.
It was in Swiss.
I was gonna say it was during the
Oh,
Swiss
was it in the
rounds, right?
Swiss?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was on day one, right?
Either way,
I've
the
definitely-
stakes were much higher.
I've definitely teamed with Greg before, and he's done this same move.
Oh yeah,
before.
oh 100%.
Leans over, shows the hand, and is like, "How do you feel about this hand? Should I keep it?" I'm like, "Greg, that's the best hand I've ever seen in my life. Of course you're not gonna mulligan
The
that."
best part about this move is that you're telling your teammates, but you're really just telling your opponent.
Yeah, you're just like, you might as well concede.
the Swede savage, like your opponents, where it's like when they like leans over. I've definitely also teamed with Greg and had him ask this like, "Is this hand a thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, the hand's an obvious sneak," and he like looks his opponent straight in the face, like, "Okay." It's like that was definitely not directed at me. I definitely like neither me or Daniel was like trying to like bluff him. I was like, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't seem like it's a greedy keeper." Just like, that hand's fucking insane, Greg. Why are you asking me that? And he like looks his opponent dead in the face, like, "All right, I'll keep."
Sometimes you just gotta show it off, you know.
Without flashing the card, sometimes you just gotta show him what you got.
Sometimes you just have to lift your like member onto the table.
Sometimes you still had all D's.
That's probably enough of topic number 10.
Is it though?
I think time-wise it is.
Yeah.
Right?
And so the final takeaway from
moving.
Greg, what's the biggest takeaway? Sometimes you have to lift your member up and slap it directly on the table. That's the biggest takeaway from the PT.
I suppose you could say that is the biggest takeaway.
Sometimes you have to lift your member and just drop it directly on the table. Oh, that's some wise wisdom.
Alright, so if we roll a 10 again, we'll be talking about bad first date ideas.
Ooh.
I really hope we don't roll that.
That one's... That sounds like a noodle.
4.
Man, this podcast is going and going.
Fuck yeah.
The gift that keeps on giving.
We're talking about top 5 Disney or movies or what?
Definite Disney movies.
Oh, it was top 5 Disney, right?
Yeah, top 5 Disney.
Are we talking about like all Disney? Or are we talking like which ones are we talking?
I assume we're talking about all Disney, right?
I mean, like I don't know if I would say like Star Wars is like a Disney.
Can
I see what you're saying.
snap off
It's
five?
up to interpretation, right?
I think like new
I think it's fair to say that like Star Wars doesn't count as Disney. We're talking about like Disney, like there's a princess or something like.
Okay. Oh,
I
so
think
it has
saying
to be
there
like
has
an
to be a
animated-
princess is like too restrictive.
Leia's a princess,
I think
right?
that's
Star
like the
Wars has
prototypical
princess.
definition of how people understand it.
Star Wars
But
has
I'm
a
saying I would
princess.
count.
Leia's
I think-
now a Disney princess.
I think Wall-E
She's
would
alive.
solidly count as a Disney movie.
Yes,
like
no, I
Wall-E is
agree.
definitely a Disney
That's
movie, and there's
definitely-
definitely not a princess.
Isn't that a
feel that
Pixar
way,
movie,
but
though?
Don't they own? Doesn't Disney own Pixar?
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
they do, but to
I
me,
consider
Pixar
Pixar-
movies are not Disney movies.
Okay.
You wouldn't count Wall-E as a Disney movie?
Not really.
I'd say
no.
like all the.
To me,
I'd say the top 5 would just be Pixar movies. Because Pixar's like way
yeah,
better than
I think
Disney.
Pixar would crush Disney, and that's what makes
Like-
it not interesting.
Like name like.
I mean,
That's
I'm just
fine.
gonna snap off Infinity War, right? Like that's a Disney.
yeah, I mean that too. It's like if you start including
I thought you meant.
Marvel.
Why don't we like narrow?
I think by Disney movie,
let's do
it
cartoon
should
movies.
Mean,
Okay.
It should mean like princess cartoon movies.
Well, my answer is not going to change. I know my number one regardless.
I mean, for me personally,
you want me to fire off my
Yeah.
number one? It's Mulan.
Mulan's great.
Lion King's also
good
top
one.
five.
I have to admit I am embarrassed. I've never seen Mulan.
Mulan
It's
is
good.
I know it's good.
A+.
I've heard it's good.
It's crazy
It's about-
good.
I like Lion King, but Lion King has some very like kind of conservative like pro monarchy narratives that I'm not huge
Well,
on.
it's just Hamlet, right?
Yeah. it's just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is basically.
If you
But
consider
my-
Pixar movie, I think that's.
I think my favorite Disney movie is Moana. I think Moana is just like
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's not definitely not.
Moana is just fucking
I like
delightful.
Zootopia more than Moana. probably.
Zootopia is nice.
Zootopia was pretty good actually.
I've seen both. I like Moana more.
I think Hercules is an underrated Disney movie.
Is it?
Yeah, have you the Muses being
I
like a
haven't seen
gospel group is really nice.
I haven't seen it.
So
No, I think that one's-
the Muses do a lot of the narration in Hercules, and they're just like a gospel group.
I haven't seen
And it's a really
Hercules
nice
in quite
touch.
some time.
Yeah.
I kind of like the.
I think
I
Hades
kind of like
is
the
like a
Jungle
really,
Book too.
the Hades
if you ever
character
saw
is
it.
really nice done. The Jungle Book.
Have you
is
seen
nice.
Moana?
I have not.
Oh,
I need to get
it's
to
so good, Dan. It's you
Yeah,
really.
I
should
think
see
Jungle
it.
Book is a really good one.
Moana is very well made and like very like. I don't know, there's nothing wrong with it, but the problem is it's just not. I don't know, the whole like general thing.
I think
it just
I-
isn't that super.
I don't know if I, like,
interesting to me.
Oh, it really inspired me. I just thought it was like really. I just thought it was like really inspiring to see like this, someone who sort of has to like save her whole clan or whatever.
Toy,
I thought it was great.
Toy Story doesn't count, right? That's Pixar.
Not really. I mean, Toy Story's going to crush everything
I was-
because
yeah,
it's
right,
fucking
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
That's like.
I would say Coco.
That's why I don't think it's a fair comparison because like Toy Story is so good and like.
Mulan over Toy Story for me. Mulan's really
What?
good.
Did you,
Mulan's so
did you
good.
see the movie Coco?
I was also like
I didn't
I was
see
also
that.
like 8 years or 10 years old when Mulan first came out, and I went to see it in
Okay.
theaters, and it's really good on a big screen too because there's a scene with an avalanche that's like really nice on a theater.
It is Noodly. 100% recommend to watch.
I gotta see that one.
We can have a night where we watch like
Mulan
Jurassic,
and Moana.
Jurassic Park and Moana and like
Mulan.
I'd
Mulan
be down.
and the Pick of Destiny.
The one nice
Pick
thing.
of Destiny too, yeah, for sure.
For like next road trip, we can at least listen to the Pick of Destiny on CD.
What is the Pick of Destiny?
So Tenacious D, their first album is called The Pick of Destiny, and they write basically like a bunch of songs, like 11 songs, and they have like they're just like random as shit, and then they make a movie about these 11 songs and somehow squeeze them all together to like make this movie, and the movie is excellent.
It's very funny.
It's like hilariously
It might be a stretch, but
what?
it's about Yay Noodly, I suppose.
Like, but like their songs are so wild, like it's just like.
Alright. So if we roll a 4 again, we'll be talking about, let's see,
Luke got kinda shut out that
Meg,
time.
apparently.
Sorry.
Meg?
Yeah, the
Oh, we're
Meg.
digging deep.
I didn't have much to contribute.
closing remarks?
17.
All right, that's your closing remark.
All right, would you rather?
All right, Luke, are you the would you rather man?
No, I thought we had to have Greg ask all the questions.
No, someone asked.
You're the roller, so why don't you be the would you rather?
I don't have any good ones.
All right, Greg, you're up from the would you rather. Otherwise, I'll take would you rather.
All right, would you rather shoes or would you rather booze?
Well, booze. I'm not much of a
It's a
shoe
bad
freak.
question.
Yeah,
Booze.
I'd much rather booze.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
Daniel, 1 international PET, 2 domestic PTs.
Is that
which
close?
would I rather queue for?
Which would you rather, 2 domestic PTs or 1 international PT?
I'd rather play in 2 domestic PTs because I think
I don't think that's close.
Okay.
I think the money equity is worth more to me than the travel
I mean, fuck
equity.
the money. The opportunity to hit gold or platinum is just...
All right, you ask the next question for would you rather.
I have to ask the next
Yeah,
one.
you get popcorn.
this
If you
way.
ask someone, they answer the next one.
All right. Would you rather? Oh, this is a classic. Would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm gonna lock this one in. I think it's 100 duck-sized horses.
No.
That is a lot of
I
horses.
disagree. It's definitely 1 duck
feel like
Are you
ducks
aware that
Mm,
birds are dinosaurs and you would get fucked up?
Yeah, no, I mean, like the little horses is definitely not ideal, but I mean, the giant duck's just gonna eat you, and they don't like. You see them eat bread? Like, there's just the Solid J's done.
The thing about the giant duck is I can outsmart it, right? Like, all I have to do is just dodge.
Right? Isn't that what the saying is? Dip, duck, dive.
Horses aren't physically that intimidating. Like, so it's just a big duck, but it's like it's not going to be taller than you.
feel like
You just grab its neck and snap it.
I feel like a duck-sized duck is already pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
honestly.
Duck-sized duck is tough.
I don't know if I could handle a horse-sized duck.
100 horses.
All right,
is a lot
Greg.
of horses.
100 horses are gonna fuck you real
They're
good.
little, though. You can just like step on them or something, right?
You can like kick him away or something.
Well, then what if you get kicked by one? And, like, they break your
So,
leg?
Well, their hooves are like, you know, they're like
they're
tiny.
about yay
I don't know. I
big.
think they're just gonna swarm you. I think
They're, like,
I have another-
climbing up to
And,
you.
like,
I think you're gonna
How
be
can they climb? Their
Dobbs.
hooves have no like purchase.
You're fucking Dobbs.
all right.
I think the giant duck is just gonna eat you. I mean, ducks are descended from the dinosaurs.
They are, but like, have you
Ducks
seen
have big-
ducks?
Ducks have big mouths too.
Yeah, I think I made the correct line here.
Do ducks have any
So,
teeth?
Greg, would
I know
you
that's
rather
no,
drink
but it's
I didn't
definitely
think
so.
a
Beaks
shot
have
of
no
Ron
teeth.
Diaz or a
So-
shot
Unless
of
you're looking at
Silver Wolf?
Archaeopteryx.
Yeah.
What is silver wolf?
Or what's it called? Have you ever had like silver?
Admiral Nelson?
No, not Admiral Nelson. Like
Admiral Nelson's
Silver
too high
Wolf or
quality to
something.
get
It's
involved
like
in that.
it's like the cheapest vodka that you can possibly buy in like the state of Minnesota. It's like
Kharkov.
no, it's cheaper than Kharkov by like a lot. Like
Cheaper than Kharkov?
it's like 60% the price.
Stay the fuck away from that.
Let me just say that it's really funny that the off-brand super cheap vodkas always try to imitate like the high-quality vodkas. So like Grey Wolf or Silver Wolf versus Grey Goose,
Yeah.
and like Admiral Nelson versus Captain Morgan.
I never noticed that, but that does make sense.
I like.
Clearly
That's
trying
a
to get-
good
they're
marketing
clearly trying to
ploy.
get drunk people to buy them, and they can't tell the difference.
I like
right?
that Captain Morgan is being classified as a high value or like a high quality liquor.
Yeah.
It is
It's
true
not
that that's a
high-quality,
stretch.
But Admiral Nelson's straight garbage.
Yeah,
so-
it's definitely better than like UV, but
Alright, so on that note, if we,
Oh man.
if we roll a 17 again, we'll be talking about Ron Diaz.
Speaking of which,
Do we have to take a drink of Ron Diaz if we roll
Do
17?
what you
No,
feel.
I'm not
Sometimes
gonna.
it's
If
the
you
wheel.
roll the Ron Diaz, you take a drink of Ron
Alright,
Diaz.
I'm in.
Oh!
End of the podcast. So
Saving the Ron Diaz for next time, I guess.
yeah, we'll see what we see.
that was a good one.
Yeah, it was about yay noodly, I suppose.
About you.
Yeah, that was good.
You want to wrap it up for us, Greg?
Well, thanks for tuning in. Yeah.
We
See
rolled
ya.
one podcast over. Bye.
Podcast ends.